who are searching for their loved ones to visit the hospital as part of family identification.
And finally, Hamas has handed over the bodies of 4 more hostages that were held in Gaza. This brings the number of bodies to 8. The bodies are being transferred to a forensic institute in Tel Aviv for identification. There was anger in Israel on Monday when Hamas returned just 4 of the 28 bodies held in Gaza throughout the war. U.S. President Donald Trump spoke after the issue shortly before the latest handover.
They misrepresented because we were told they had 26, 24 of dead hostages, if we can use those terms. And it seems as though they don't have that because we're talking about a much lesser number. But that's a very tough subject. I want them back.
Recapping the top stories, suspended Deputy National Police Commissioner for Crime Detection, Shedrick Sibia, has again denied the existence of men referred to as the Big Five. He appeared before Parliament's ad hoc committee investigating allegations of criminal infiltration, corruption and political interference in the justice system for the second consecutive day yesterday. For SFM News, I am Anne Musa.
It's a very good morning to you in your SFM Sports headlines. Feel it, it's real. Bafana are going to the World Cup for the first time since 2010. America, here we come. And we also bring you cricket action. Ryan Rickleton's partnership rescuing the Proteas on day 3 against Pakistan. Details just before 6:30.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Good morning, a very busy start this Wednesday. 2 crashes in the wrong places. They're on high traffic routes around Gauteng. 1, the bottom of the N1 at Midrand going into Buccleuch. Multiple lanes are closed. Traffic pushing back towards Allendale Road already. And a big delay coming in from the south. If you're into Joburg this morning from Crossmere, Eldorado Park, Protea Glen, Lenasia. Big crash again blocking multiple lanes. N1 North going into Deepcliff. That traffic is all the way back through Golden Highway at Elders and almost back towards the N12. So if you're coming from Lenasia, Protea Glen, think about a reroute through Soweto. If you're leaving Lenasia, think about a reroute out through Aikenoff as your alternative routes. Roadworks going in on the R21 overnight last night. A couple of lanes are closed at Olifantsfontein Road. Watch for some delays as you come from the airport to Pretoria. Those roadworks long term in until the end of February next year. Cape Town, Baden-Powell Drive closed overnight last night at Khayelitsha due to protesting. The road looks open this morning. And there's some queuing pressure on the N2 inbound passing the airport and again through towards the Mowbray Main Road. Very busy along that N2 into Cape Town. With your traffic update, I'm Rob Byrne.
The Morning Brief with Thulasizwe Simelane. Weekdays, Monday to Friday, 6 to 9 a.m. The Morning Brief with Thulasizwe Simelane. Weekdays, Monday to Friday, 6 to 9 a.m. Bafana, 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 Bafana. Bravo, bravissimo, we all celebrate.
All right, there's no better way to really start the show. We really could not do it any other way. Bravo, bravo. Bravo, Bafana Bafana. It's Wednesday, the 15th of October, 2025, live and direct and energized by Bafana Bafana, live and direct from SABC HQ here in Auckland Park in Johannesburg. We are SAFM. We are leading the conversations that move us. We are on 104 to 107 nationwide. While you slept, we scanned and scoured the environment in your locality, your province, country, continent, and the world. We identified those news and current affairs developments that we think will move the needle in your world today, and we carefully curated them and packaged them into this morning brief, which we now proudly serve up to you. It doesn't really roll off the tongue as easily as Siaya France, right? If you're of a certain age, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. Yeah, Siaya USA, Canada, and Mexico. It's official. Bafana Bafana are going back to the World Cup for the first time in 16 years. Well, it will be 16 years when they go to the World Cup next year. The last time was when we were blowing our vuvuzelas here at home in 2010. But finally, that moment has come. South Africa has booked its ticket to football's biggest stage after a stunning 3-0 victory over Rwanda in Mbombela. So this sees them seal their lead over Group C and emerging as Group C winners, leaders of that group coming out of that. So we'll give you full analysis of that coming up in the second hour of the show. In fact, in the third hour of the show, we'll be talking a bit more with Nkululeko Nkeu and just unpacking it all, how it all unfolded and how much and how badly we needed to have this moment as South Africans. So celebrations all around, but the real work really begins now to make sure that not only are we saying CIA, USA, Canada, and Mexico, yeah, all right, but what are we going to do when we get there to make sure that we are all ready by the time we get there? So that conversation coming up in the third hour of the show. In other news, not so great. The doors of learning are temporarily shut at the University of the Free State, especially its Qwaqwa campus. This follows days of violent protests that forced the university to close the campus and order students to leave. The unrest follows the University Council's decision to scrap provisional registration from 2026. This is a system student leaders say allowed poor and working class students access to higher education while they were, in the meantime, securing their funding each and every year. The SRC has condemned that decision as anti-poor and exclusionary, while the Portfolio Committee on Higher Education in Parliament has also weighed in, lashing out at what it calls thuggish and barbaric conduct of private security during the protests. So what we will do at the top of 7 a.m., we'll be speaking to Lasia Loader, who is Senior Director for Communication and Marketing at the University of the Free State. In particular, I'm keen to hear about that decision to stop what is known as the provisional registration that has been in place over the years. So we'll be talking to Lasia Loader at about 7 a.m., just after 7 a.m. And lastly, are the dominoes beginning to fall is the question. Is the axe beginning to fall where it may in light of the industrial scale looting that was uncovered by the SIU in Gauteng's Department of Health and Tembisa in Hospital, to be specific? Well, at the very least, we seem to have a major shake-up at the top echelons of the department's leadership, Gauteng Health leadership. The Premier, Panyaza Lesufi, suspending Lesiba Malutana, the head of department, with immediate effect. The reasons not given, but there's allusion to SIU investigations in the statement issued out by the Premier's office. So we'll look into that issue at about 10 to 7 this morning. All your regulars locked and loaded once again this morning, and Musa at the news desk, Rob Byrne on your traffic, Zaikan watching all things sport, Melissa Puta with the morning brief in brief, and of course Ntauleng Lechela with insights into the economy, business and the markets, and of course Sipho Mantula with an overview of developments around the continent. All right, let's get into it then. The first hour of the Wednesday edition of the morning brief starts now.
Gender-based violence is destroying lives and tearing communities apart. It happens in homes, in schools, at workplaces, and too often in silence. But it doesn't have to continue. If you see it, speak out. If you are hurting, reach out. Because doing nothing is not an option. Listen to all 19 SABC radio stations for hard talk, discussions, advice, dramas, educational shows, and interviews around GBV with experts, survivors, lawmakers, and a whole country affected by gender-based violence. All on your favorite SABC radio station. Call 0800 428 428 to report abuse or get help. GBV, it ends with you. This message is brought to you by the SABC. Big stories of the day. Hashtag the morning brief.
15 minutes after 6. Let's kick it off then with Melissa Puta, as always, with the morning brief in brief. Melissa, good morning. Tell me a bit more about the inquest, the reopened inquest, the inquest into the Craddock 4, the killing of the Craddock 4.
Good morning, Thulasizwe. The inquest into the deaths of the Craddock 4 will proceed following a ruling by Judge Temi Beshe in the Gqeberha High Court. This comes after lawyers for some apartheid-era security police tried to delay proceedings due to the hospitalization of former Flak Plus commander Eugene de Kock, who was expected to testify. Despite concerns from other implicated parties about potential prejudice, Judge Beshe ruled that the inquest should continue with other witnesses. De Kock's testimony can be addressed at a later stage when he is medically cleared to appear before the court.
And the proceedings at the Madlanga Commission took a bit of a different turn. Not the usual regular mode of delivery of testimony. This had to do with an initial approach that seemed to want to impose a blanket in-camera process, meaning that the witness that is currently testifying was going to testify away from the public glare. Tell me what has happened to resolve that situation.
Yes, so there's been quite a lot of reaction to that, and SANEF has also come on board and strongly opposed a blanket in-camera application at the Madlanga Commission of Inquiry, which would close hearings to the public and media for 2 weeks. While acknowledging national security concerns, SANEF argued that transparency and accountability must prevail, warning that such blanket secrecy risks eroding public trust and hiding potential misconduct. It supports a case-by-case approach for closed sessions, especially given the sensitive issues being investigated, such as criminal intelligence funds, rather. SANEF has also called for meaningful media engagement during the hearings and reaffirmed its commitment to ethical journalism. And we will also be talking to the Daily Maverick a little later on, given that they and News 24 have taken this matter to court.
Yeah, absolutely. We will have that conversation a bit later on in the show because, as I say, the proceedings were really, really different yesterday from the mode that we've all become accustomed to. Lastly, Melissa, there's an organization called the South African National Association of Special Education. Why are they calling for the closure of all special schools in KwaZulu-Natal?
So the KZN Department of Education has rejected a call by South African National Association of Special Education to close all special schools in the province due to operational challenges. The association cited funding shortfalls, staff shortages, transport issues, and high electricity costs as reasons for the shutdown. Some schools have already informed parents of indefinite closure as a result of these various issues. However, KZN Education MEC Sipho Shomoka said only the department had the legal authority to close schools and said that the association's moves are illegal. The department acknowledged the challenges, blaming budget constraints, and said it is working with the provincial treasury to address them while continuing discussions with the association. So this is quite a sad one and one to watch and see how it continues to unfold.
Yeah, thank you for that. That's Melissa Puta with the Morning Brief in Brief.
Thulasizwe Simelane on SAFM.
On the weather front, the South African Weather Service wants you to know about one warning. It is a yellow level 2 warning. It says severe thunderstorms resulting in heavy downpours that will lead to localized flooding of susceptible low-lying areas. For example, settlements, roads and bridges, damage to property and infrastructure due to strong gusty winds, large amounts of small hail or large hail in an open area, communication outages and disruption of municipal services due to excessive lightning. All of those conditions, as well as danger to livelihood and livestock, that is to be expected over the central parts of Limpopo. So do take care. It's a yellow level 2 warning from SAWS. Let's tell you the rest of your weather now. Pretoria will be partly cloudy with isolated afternoon thunder showers with a minimum of 17 and a maximum of 34. Johannesburg, fine becoming partly cloudy, 15 to 32. Vereeniging, fine becoming partly cloudy, 17 to 32. Mbombela, partly cloudy with isolated showers and thunder showers, 17 to 28. Polokwane, fine becoming partly cloudy with scattered afternoon thunder showers, 17 to 30. Mahikeng, fine becoming partly cloudy, 16 to 34. Bloemfontein will be fine, 7 to 29. Kimberley, fine, 10 to 31. Uppington, fine, 13 to 30. Cape Town will be partly cloudy, 13 to 22. George, partly cloudy, 13 to 21. Gqeberha, partly cloudy, 15 to 21. East London, partly cloudy, 16 to 22. Durban will be cloudy with isolated light showers and rain, 19 to 22. Richards Bay, cloudy with isolated light showers and rain, 17 to 23. And lastly, Pietermaritzburg will have morning fog, otherwise cloudy with isolated light showers and rain, 11 to 20.
This October month, SFM joins the world in breast cancer awareness. We bring you conversations that highlight the importance of early detection, survivor stories that inspire hope, and expert advice that could save lives. Together, let's spread awareness and support the fight against breast cancer. SAFM, leading the conversations that move us.
Worldview Update, bringing you closer to international or global news.
22 minutes after 6. Well, a fragile ceasefire is taking shape in Gaza following the agreement and the high-profile summit that was held in Egypt, where the U.S. President Donald Trump declared an end to the Gaza conflict, unveiling the first phase of his 20-point peace plan. The agreement includes a ceasefire between Israel and Hamas and a significant prisoner exchange. 250 Palestinian prisoners and over 1,700 detainees were released by Israel in return for 20 living hostages and 28 bodies that were still held by Hamas. So it's all in the early stages of implementation. Let's talk a bit more about it with Thembisa Fagute, Director at Africa-Asia Dialogues and also a global governance analyst. Good morning to you, Thembisa, and thank you for your time. It's all tentative. It's all fragile at the moment. And in fact, I saw reports that talked about several people killed in Israeli action, various military actions, even as the ceasefire was taking shape in the last few days. Well, let me just be clear. I saw a number of people were killed in Gaza. Let me not attribute it because, I don't have the full details of each and every instance. But there were deaths that occurred yesterday in Gaza. What does that tell us about the fragility of the moment and this ceasefire?
Well, it tells us that Benjamin Netanyahu and his zealots in Gaza are not really in Israel are not really interested in peace. They continue to kill, as you correctly put it. The agreement also stipulated that there's going to be 600 trucks that were full of aid flowing into Gaza. Yesterday, Israel decided to halve that, so you have 300 trucks, which is not sufficient at all to address the current needs inside Gaza. So already a few hours later, you have Israel violating the arrangement, and their complaint, of course, is that Hamas has not handed over the bodies of the hostages from the tunnels in Gaza. But it was agreed before that because of the destruction, it will be very difficult for Hamas or Islamic Jihad to locate where those bodies were buried, because most of them have rubble on top of them. So the arrangement was that they were going to given time to locate those bodies and give them over to Israel. But Israel has already jumped the gun by cutting down aid and correctly, as you correctly put it, continue killing the Palestinians in Gaza. And in the West Bank, of course, the incursion continues. Dozens of men were arrested and many over the past couple of days killed.
You mentioned the West Bank, and I saw an element and some commentary that talked about the role players that are going to be critical in ensuring that this 20-point peace plan forms the foundation of at least a sustainable, albeit fragile, truce over a sustainable period of time. There was the commentary that talked about the role of the Palestinian Authority, and you just alluded to whether or not Hamas will go all the way in terms of what Trump and Israel expect in line with this 20-point peace plan that includes a full disarmament, and that they will have no role in the leadership of Gaza going forward. Talk to me about that, those elements that we can have Egypt, we can have Qatar, we can have the US and all other role players. But is it possible to make this sustainable without the Palestinian Authority, without Hamas or other factions that are linked to it?
It's not sustainable, but at the same time, it's a very confusing positioning statement. Trump himself said that they've asked Hamas to play the role of policing Gaza. So at the same time, you have the same person saying that Hamas is not going to have any role in Gaza, but he goes on and asks Hamas to play the role of policing and security in Gaza. So it's very confusing at the moment. We never know what's going to be happening. But it's important to also note that this 20-point plan is about the 7th of October 2023. The problems of Palestine date back to 1948 when the Nakba happened. So you can solve the immediate problems. What happens to the Palestinians, for example, who remain refugees in countries such as Lebanon, Syria, Jordan, and Egypt, and refugees inside Gaza? Many people forget that Gaza is a huge refugee camp, including the West Bank. These are the people who have the right to return and want to go back to their homes, which is now part of what is called Israel. So this will solve the problem, yes, but there are lots of other problems dating back to decades that need to be sorted out if we are to achieve a stable and lasting peace in that part of the world.
All right, let's leave it there for this morning. Thank you for your time. That's Thembisa Fagute, Director at Africa-Asia Dialogues, also a global governance analyst.
This is SAFM Sport with Zai Khan.
Zai, do I need to say anything really? Do I?
You're not surprised.
I told you our brothers will come through for us.
And they did, hey?
And we came through for ourselves as well.
What a day. I'm still on the party bus. Let me tell you, we haven't left Mbombela. It is, what can I say? We're busy packing for the US. Someone's got to get the passports ready. So yeah, South Africa will be returning to the FIFA World Cup for the first time since hosting the tournament in 2010. They claimed top spot in their qualifying group ahead of Nigeria and Benin. We thrashed Rwanda 3-0. That was in the final 2026 FIFA World Cup qualification Group C match. All happening at the Mbombela Stadium last night to book our tickets to the global showpiece. The results saw Bafana qualify for the World Cup in Canada, Mexico and the USA as Group C winners. So the South African Giants, as they're known, will now play international friendlies as they prepare for the December 2025 Africa Cup of Nations happening in Morocco. The other match, Nigeria qualified for the playoffs after they cruised to a 4-0 victory over Benin. Victor Osimhen was the star of the show. He plundered a hat-trick before Frank Onyeka added gloss to the scoreline. Elsewhere, Qatar beat the United Arab Emirates 2-1 to book their spot in the 2026 World Cup. In the meantime, US President Donald Trump said that FIFA chief Gianni Infantino would support moving the 2026 World Cup games from the US cities for security reasons if necessary. Now, in September, Trump raised the possibility of moving games amid his crackdown on democratic-run cities. But at the same time, FIFA said it was up to football's governing body to decide where games are held. Now, Trump's comments come after a day that he met close friend Infantino in Egypt at a summit on a Gaza ceasefire, where the FIFA boss joined more than 24 world leaders who were discussing peace. The US president also suggested that if necessary, events for the 2028 Los Angeles Olympics could also be moved. On to cricket, and the Proteas remain in the hunt for the chase in Lahore after Pakistan collapsed for 167 in their second innings, losing 5 wickets for just 17 runs. Spin duo of Sanutan Mutasamy and Simon Harmer kept the Proteas alive. Earlier, Tony de Zorzi struck a brilliant century to anchor South Africa's reply, together with Ryan Rickleton, who's on unbeaten on 29. Here's de Zorzi.
Yeah, I think if on any wicket a partnership is gold, particularly on a wicket like this. As you said, I think it is a bit tough to start. It happened in both innings or all the innings. There is some sort of a collapse because it's tough for the new guy to come in. It's tough for him to get a rhythm. And I think both spinners on each side are pretty good spinners, and these are their favourable conditions. So I think the beginning is the toughest, but hopefully we can, like you said, build a partnership and crack on.
And that's your sport. Swing back for more coming to you at the top of the hour. Yes, Bafana are going to the World Cup. I'm Zai Khan.
Good morning, I'm Anne Musa. In the headlines, crime intelligence boss Tumisani Khumalo is expected to appear in the Pretoria Magistrates Court today. This after the recusal of the acting chief magistrate, Vusi Mahlangu. KwaZulu-Natal Police Commissioner Ntantla Mkwanazi implicated Mahlangu in wrongdoing when he alleged that some officers in the judiciary were colluding with criminals. Suspended Deputy National Police Commissioner Shedrick Sibiya claims that there is a smear campaign to prevent him from vying for the vacant position of Hawks boss or the National Police Commissioner when it becomes vacant. And the Limpopo government says the process of identifying the bodies of people killed in a recent bus crash is continuing. 17 of the 43 bodies of people have been identified. I'll have details on these and other stories at 7.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Good morning. Substantial delays coming to Joburg from both sides. From the south, driving north, a crash on the M1 at Deepcliff interchange. It's heavy this morning. N1 all the way back through Potch Highway. The N12 Potch Highway is snaking back from the N1 congestion all the way back through the Golden Highway exit at El Dorado Park. So major delays. It's a very high volume route, that N1 this time of the morning. Takes an enormous amount of traffic up into Joburg from the south, and all of that traffic going very, very extremely slowly this morning. So if you're coming from Protea Glenside, you might want to think about a reroute through Soweto, exiting Lenasia. You could try the Kibla Park Aikenoff run. There's a bit of traffic around Nirvana Drive Golden Highway. Once you get through that into Kibla Park up the R82, it'll be much easier this morning. Coming in from the north, so driving south, so from Pretoria Midrand to Joburg, crash at the bottom of the M1 Buccleuch interchange. That's pushing a heavy queue across all lanes all the way back through to New Road. And then before you get there, you've got the normal sort of delay from Old Joburg down to sort of New Road, which is the normal Monday to Friday congestion. And once you get to New Road, it gets even heavier on that run into the crashing. Collision on the bottom end of the Mopani Highway at SKM Pathlali Drive, so some delays there as well. And then driving into Cape Town this morning, the N2 is under pressure with a crash near Lisbeck Parkway. That's on your way into Hospital Bend. That's a queue from almost as far back as the airport, and then behind that, the M5 struggling to get into that N2, so the M5 queuing from the Kenilworth area. Rob Byrne, SAFM Traffic.
The business update on SAFM.
For that, let's turn to Ndauling Lechela for the first update of the morning. Ndauling, good morning. Talk to me about M&A activity and upbeat equity markets. You're saying that has boosted U.S. banks' Q3 earnings.
That's right, Silas. Now, earnings season has started strong in the U.S., with Wall Street's biggest banks enjoying their strongest deal-making streak in years, powered by record equity markets and resilient consumer demand. But top executives are cautioning that the surge may not last. A rush of mergers, listings, and capital raises lifted Goldman Sachs investment banking revenue by 42% in the third quarter, while JP Morgan and Citigroup also booked double-digit gains. Bankers credited the upswing to upbeat U.S. growth and optimism over lower interest rates, which have pushed asset prices to record highs. Yet, behind the euphoria, concerns are rising, with many concerned about an AI bubble. JP Morgan CEO Jamie Dimon said parts of the credit market were showing early signs of excess, while Citi's Jane Fraser warned of valuation frothiness creeping into equities. The IMF this week also cautioned that investors are underestimating geopolitical and trade risks. For now, the deal flow keeps Wall Street humming, but even the biggest execs admit the boom may be running ahead of reality.
And these data centers, Ndauling, are, a huge deal, and it's big business. Tell me about Google and their plans to build one in India.
Now, the tech giant will invest $15 billion to build data center capacity for a new AI hub in India, marking its largest AI investment outside of the US. The project will unfold over the next 5 years, and the investment follows a year of negotiations with local officials. India's government welcomed the move, saying it is just the beginning of deeper collaboration, with reports indicating Google's subsidiary, Raiden Infotech, will develop 3 campuses across the city. Now, the move underscores India's growing role in the global AI infrastructure race as companies ramp up spending to meet surging cloud and computing demand. Now, Google recently lifted its 2025 capital expenditure forecast to $85 billion, and in July pledged another $25 billion for data and AI infrastructure in the US. India is also drawing heavy investment from other tech giants such as Microsoft and Amazon Web Services, also planning to build extra capacity in the country.
And lastly, Ndauling, how did we close yesterday, and what tone is being set this morning?
So stateside trade was mixed, with traders digesting positive banking earnings while also assessing the fallout from the government shutdown, which is said to delay inflation numbers. The Dow Jones making gains up 0.4%, while the Nasdaq declined over 3/4. Meanwhile, on the JSE, trade in negative territory overnight, with investors digesting mining production data. The ore share slipped 0.2%, fueled by losses in the industrial 25, which was down over 1/3%. Moving over to currencies, the rand doing better than yesterday as some sort of calm returns, sitting at 17.34 to the greenback. In commodities, oil not having the best week, on the back foot yet again as tariff jitters and oversupply concerns weigh on that market. It's sitting under $63 per barrel. And then lastly, in Asia, markets returning to the green today despite China's downbeat inflation print.
Right, Ndauling, thank you for that. We'll touch base with you once again just after 7:30.
Africa Update on SAFM.
And for that, we turn to Advocate Sipho Mantula. Raz, let's start in Cameroon. Tell me about the opposition candidate. His name is Issa Chiroma Bakari. Tell me about him claiming victory in as far as that election is concerned.
First morning, Thulas and Jumbo Africa to the listener. Thulas, when you look at Cameroon now, having a candidate with a 76, Issa Chiroma Bakara, who yesterday claimed a victory to us, but when you know that the laws allows only the Electoral Commission, Constitutional Council, to verify them after the 26th of this month. Now, yesterday he went on his Facebook page talking about that Biya must accept the truth of the ballot box, or he will plunge the country into turmoil. Interestingly, to us, as you know, like I said, Chiroma, he was once the voice and the face of government. He has an experience as a technocrat, but this time he has joined the politics just to obstruct the elder, or what you can call the aged Paul Biya, who is going for the 8th term, to us, one can say. I mean, he will be going since 1982, but we will still wait to us because the other government or officials are saying that this opposition candidate, Issa Chiroma, is actually trying to obstruct the electoral process.
And what's the official word for someone who's over 90? Is it nonagenarian? Is it? Because I know it's a nonagenarian. Nonagenarian. Yeah.
I'm not sure about it, Tulas. I'll still check it. I'm
'Cause
not sure.
the one you and I are
yes,
familiar with is
me.
octogenarian, which is over
Octogenarian,
80.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's Paul Biya there, nonagenarian. Talk to me about what's happening in Madagascar. I see that the voice of the president, Andre Rajoelina, continues to be heard, even though indications are the coup is now complete.
Tulas, it is said that he's using the online. He's on Facebook dissolving the National Assembly. And as you said, looking at the coup, I just got a statement from Professor Mutharika, now the chair of the organ of SADC. But also, as you heard earlier on the show of Elvis, SADC is also concerned about what is happening. But what we are picking up now, Tulas, is that Ravalo Manana is coming up also again as the opposition, saying that in Parliament they wanted to impeach him, by the way. But the youth are still calling for his resignation. He just dissolved the Parliament through a Facebook undisclosed location. Others are saying it's either between Paris or Dubai. But Rajoelina, one thing that is happening is that people are still calling even for his step down. So even yesterday, there was still protests going on. And that's how we see, Tulas, how will the AU, how will both the SADC manage this issue in the island of Madagascar? Because remember, the vacant seat of SADC now, SADC is a regional economic body, Tulas. If that chair is being threatened, you will need South Africa to either step up or Malawi, as the chair of the Troika, also be the caretaker chairperson.
So in Morocco, protests also led by the so-called Gen Z 212. Tell me what they are saying about the tactics that they want the people of Morocco to adopt in carrying forward their protests.
Tulas, they are calling that over the weekend there should be a sit-ins, what you call a peaceful sit-ins across the country. The Gen Z 212 are calling what others they call it, is it a fresh demonstration after almost 2 weeks of what they were going through up and down with the police. The Gen Z of Morocco, Tulas, you'll recall that they are calling also for reform on education and healthcare, tackling corruption, raising the issues of cost of living crisis. But also they've been saying that they want to engage with the king of Morocco if he can engage with them on Friday, but they are still going on Saturday to have the sit-in. Remember when I was talking about it in the Tulas, it was about the 2030 Morocco World Cup, to say that we have built stadiums, but what about the health facilities? That's why we see Rabat, Morocco, the young people are calling for the peaceful sit-ins on Saturday.
All right, lastly, Sipho, your historical archive takes us to the 15th of October, 1985. Tell us what happened.
This is part of our TRC files, and you'll recall, I will touch on it later during this month about the TRC month and some of the files. Trojan Horse Massacre, it's almost 40 years to us, when 3 young people were killed by the security forces these young people were part of the anti-government demonstration. These young people, age 21, Jonathan Klassen, Sean Mahmoud, age 15, Michael Miranda, age 11, to us. You could see how the apartheid government was so brutal to us, killing these young people. The then Attorney General of Cape Town refused to prosecute them to us when this matter was being brought up. And one can see that the Trojan Horse Massacre is also captured as part of the TRC files. Hence, it is important when you look at the 4 decades of some of the brutalities that have happened in South Africa to us. Somewhere how there've been collusion between the then apartheid state and the security forces. Asante sana Thulas, as was sitting in a conversation, SAFM observing the cyber security month.
All right, thank you for that. That's Sipho Mantula there with your Africa update for this morning.
SAFM's award-winning drama department presents to you the radio drama series Skyline.
Press that to cockpit medical emergency now.
Cabin crew to your stations.
Where the skies promise adventure, but behind the cabin doors, untold secrets are found.
He's signing off on cheap parts they installed like it's nothing.
Catch the radio drama series every Saturday at 9 p.m. on SAFM, leading the conversations that move us. Call Thulasizwe now, 086 000 2032.
Yeah, so lots to reflect upon this morning. Bafana, right? You, if you were listening earlier on, you will have heard how we started the show. So Zigote in C3 in Mamelodi says, "What a song! Bravo, bravo, bravo indeed! What a song you are opening with this morning. Congratulations to Bafana." And then Lindiwe says, "Group C was a group of death. Siyabonga Coach Bruce, players and technical team. Bruce revived South African football with his belief in young players. SAFA must replace the ugly national jersey with a top brand. Please," says Lindiwe. I don't know, Lindiwe, about what you're saying. But I'll take your view on the quality and the style of the jersey. As I'm saying that, I'm looking at the visuals from last night out of Mbombela Stadium. Of course, the stadium itself was a bit traumatic for me because I thought, oh, we're going back to that stadium where we danced and had not qualified. I was really worried. But it wasn't for Bafana on my part. It was really on the Nigeria-Benin situation. I wasn't aware how badly Nigeria needed this. So I thought, what if this ends in a draw or something, or Benin goes on to win? Whatever we do in Mbombela was really not going to count for anything. Turned out they actually needed it as well. They needed it desperately. And so it all worked out very nicely with our brothers. Olani, good morning.
Morning, good. How are you?
Very well. How are you?
Good. Firstly, I think Lindewe is right. Something has to be done with that ugly jersey. No, Lindewe is right.
Yeah.
But yes, but Populas, my take is on basically people that are being implicated in any commission, especially those that are implicated in the Mandanga Commission. I think there was one lady that called in your show complaining about some sort of the mainstream media running a parallel commission to the Mandanga Commission.
Yes.
Of which I shared the same sentiment, especially when Kelvin Rafadi was being, not necessarily, I don't know whether he was invited or he availed himself, but whichever case it was. But, when we have a commission, a person is being implicated and come to a show, some sort of more like claiming his name. And when Rafadi came, he lambasted or bastardized everything that was being said about him. But when we saw not when we saw, because I'm not a union.
Yes.
So when I saw, yes, when I saw WhatsApp communication, I was like, this guy came,
yes,
and distanced himself as much or as far as possible as he could. But the voice, the WhatsApp communication or the communication between him and Matala, they said the opposite.
Yeah.
So I wanted to say, people that are being implicated, let them go to the commission and clean themselves or give their event of account,
100%.
not like coming to our national radio stations.
Gotcha.
And
Olani, let's leave it there. And you'll be surprised, Olani, that actually in many ways, I sort of share that sentiment that sometimes we afford a platform as media where we don't really have what the evidence leaders have in hand to be able to confront these people. So in the end, you end up with, a bare denial. And you try your best as a presenter to ask them. But at the end of the day, really, you are not armed with what the evidence leaders are armed with. So in the end, the quality of your quote-unquote cross-examination could never rise to the standard. But having said that, I'm not saying there should be no approaches for accountability until the commission processes are done. Because there are those instances where we just can't wait. We just can't wait. If, for instance, the president is mentioned in a very significant way, he has to account. For instance, I saw that people wanted him to account about what he knew when about the closure of the political killings task team. I do think that an approach that says every person who's mentioned there, we then approach them and they give us some wishy-washy story is not helpful for these processes at all. And I've expressed that even in our own internal discussions about some of these stories. Churchill in Mtata, good morning.
Good morning, Thulas. How are you?
Very well. How are you? Please go ahead.
I'm fine, my brother. Look,
you're supposed to say my brother this morning, not my brother.
My brother, okay. First of all, congratulations to Bafana. Let me go straight to it. Look, let me start by what the president said on these shenanigans, Maumela's house. Look, I want to say this without any fear of contradiction. The president is the first client of intelligence. In fact, the intelligence is right in his office now. And he cannot come and tell us that, yes, this mansion that is built some few meters away from where he's staying, and he does not know who it belongs to. I mean, come on, let's not fool South Africans. It is worse now, it belongs to somebody related to his former wife. Who are being fooled. Number two, let me go to Shadrach Spear. Shadrach Spear is the head of criminal intelligence. Now, when he's being asked a question about Kat Makala is not the first time he's being arrested. He's been involved in criminal activities. Now, we start by thinking, oh, this guy, and I mean, come on, come on. That doesn't work like that. He knows exactly. He knows this guy. Number three, here's somebody, you are the head of criminal intelligence. Somebody calls you to say, look, I want to meet you. I mean, there are so many people who have been arrested because of you. That person can't just come to you heading that office. It doesn't work like that. You don't even, try to research about this person. You keep on interacting with this person. No, we should not be fooled as South Africans.
No, I hear you, Churchill. And on all those accounts, all those stories that you are mentioning, our faith is being tested to the limit, is it not? Our faith in these people that you mentioned, from the president to the likes of General Sibiya, our faith in them is really, really being tested. And the skepticism there that you are expressing is a skepticism that I've heard from a number of people, particularly as far as the president and that relationship with Hangwani Maumela, which I saw that he was further explaining and talking about how far back the marriage to his ex-wife goes, some 47 years ago, I think that's what he said. Married to the sister of Maumela's father, if I recall the explanation from the president correctly. But you're absolutely right. A lot of people are skeptical about the co-location. You live not far apart from each other, and it just so happens that during one of your walks, you end up taking this picture. It is a skepticism that's out there. The president and others may need to say more about it to perhaps deal with it extensively and comprehensively.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Good morning. Very heading in from the south. If you're driving in from Protea Glen, Lenasia, El Dorado, Parkside, this morning coming up from Crossmere, perhaps major backlogs. Earlier crash on the M1 North at Diepkloof, being moved to the side of the road, but it's such a high volume route that it doesn't take too much to disrupt things. So the queue really starts back on the N12 Potch Highway at the El Dorado Park Golden Highway exit, from there through Deadman's Bend all the way up towards the link down to Uncle Charlie's. Very heavy. A lot of the side roads are busy as well. Jam-packed on the Golden Highway at Nirvana Drive, that side of Lenasia, and the Golden Highway from Eldos going up into Devlin, very heavy as well. There's a couple of extra bits and pieces on those alternative routes like roadworks and traffic lights, but there's a big volume that's come off the highway and is jamming those routes. The other major problem this morning is a crash on the M1 South at Buccleuch. That is literally across all lanes, joined up backlogs right through to the old Joburg Road exit. Before you get there, there's a breakdown at Rigel Avenue as well, coming out of Pretoria. So really big and busy conditions, Pretoria right through to Joburg this morning. Roadworks on the N3 north of Buccleuch, pushing queues back already towards Marlborough Drive. And before you get there, there's a breakdown around Modderfontein Road, causing a backlog getting up through Galulis as well. So it's a very high volume Wednesday, and there's a couple of issues around as well. Durban N2 from the M7 through Westwood Mall, backing up quite badly. And Cape Town, a crash on the N2 into Cape Town by Mowbray Main Road, just before Mowbray Main Road. The N2 this morning pushing a queue back all the way to the airport. And behind that, the M5 struggling to get off and into that N2. M5 backs towards Ottery. Rob Byrne, SAFM Traffic.
You are listening to The Morning Brief with Thulasizwe Simelane.
6 minutes to 7. You know this scene. You're going about your day when your phone rings and it's, quote unquote, your bank urgently warning you about fraud on your account. The caller sounds convincing, even knowing some of your personal details, but something feels off. What do you do? Just say goodbye. This is the key message from the Southern African Fraud Prevention Service, SAFPS, as they launch a new awareness campaign aimed at helping consumers recognize and shut down common scam tactics before any damage is done. Let's get a perspective from Mani van Schalkwyk, who is CEO of the Southern African Fraud Prevention Services. Good morning to you, Mani, and thank you for your time. This scam that you're describing, impersonation scams, I've experienced it, and I pulled back from the brink when, just as I was saying, something just felt off. How common is it as a feature as a modus operandi within the world of scams and fraud?
Good morning, and thank you for inviting me to your show. Yes, it is very common, and I think you summed up perfectly. That what I can add is that we see that growing in this time of year for some reason, and maybe people, let's call it rather fraudsters, believe people have got more money or they're willing to spend more, but definitely increasing over this time and specifically targeting older people, which is very happy to hear a voice, and especially somebody that's there to help them to solve a problem. And that's usually how they come about. They say, no, we're here to help you. We want to protect your money. We will send you a link. Click on this link, either just to, they might say different things to say we want to identify that we're speaking now to the right person and not to a fraudster, so we're going to send you a link, or we're going to send you a one-time password, a one-time PIN, and you need to provide that to them just to verify yourself. And that is the crux. That is the main crux. The moment you push that link or give them that one-time PIN, is that when you transfer your money into their bank account.
Yeah. So there's a key feature here that's psychological, isn't there, Mani? Talk to that psychological feature a bit more, because as I say, in my case, it was quote-unquote City of Johannesburg official calling about my account and basically pay now. It's the only way, we will not cut you off. Pay now. And something about that pressure just sounded like, no, hang on. The COJ will happily come and switch me off before they put me under so much pressure. Why do they care so much? So that's a psychological element, is it not?
Yes, and I think they play with all emotions. So always will start with a very pleasant call where they will try to help you. So they play to that emotion, so somebody's there to help you. The moment you question it or you don't play along, it will go into fear. They will say, well, if you don't pay or you don't provide me with this link or you don't push the link or you don't give me the one-time PIN, you would lose your money. So there's the fear factor that's now coming into that. Oh my gosh, maybe this person is really here to help me, and if I don't play along, then they're gonna, I'm gonna lose the money. And then aggression comes in. So if you're still not playing ball, aggression to say you will be responsible for losing all your money. We will close your bank account. It's your kind of people that don't want to give you the information. So that is that they play on all of that psychological emotions. So and trying to get people to pay.
So there is a toolkit, though, Mani, isn't there, of how we can, once you recognize the red flags, some of the go-to responses. Share those with us, as well as what you are able to do if people are registered with yourselves in this bigger scheme and this toolkit that we're talking about.
Yeah. Well, what consumers need to do is just say goodbye. Just say goodbye, put down the phone, and phone your bank. Phone the bank on the bank. There's a number at the back of your card, your bank card, or Google the number. Get the number from your action, not what the fraudster gives you. And phone that number and speak to the bank to see if there's something wrong with your account. 99% of the time, nothing is wrong. So my message to consumers, if you get this call to say there's fraud in your account, just say goodbye.
And there are platforms such as yourself. Say a bit more about what you are able to do in
Yes.
assisting
Yes.
consumers in that position.
People can go to safps.org.za or yima.org.za. That's a scams management tool. We provide free of charge tools to consumers to manage scams. They can report scams there. They can read about the latest scams. So yima.org.za.
All right, thank you for that. That's Mani van Schalkwyk, who is CEO of the Southern African Fraud Prevention Service. That website, and it's aptly named Yima. Stop, Yima, whoa. Before you go any further, think. Take a few steps back before you part with your money. 7 a.m., let's go to N. Musa, who is on standby with your latest news.
Outsurance is in the business of saving you money on your car insurance premium. If they can't, ask for 500 Rand. SMS out to 30754. That's out to 30754.
In our top stories, Crime Intelligence Head Dumisani Khumalo to appear in court and the process of identifying Limpopo bus crash victims underway. Good morning. Crime Intelligence boss Dumisani Khumalo is expected to appear in the Pretoria Magistrates Court today. This after the recusal of the acting chief magistrate, Fusi Mahlangu. KwaZulu-Natal Police Commissioner Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi implicated Mahlangu in wrongdoing when he alleged that some officers in the judiciary were colluding with criminals. Khumalo and other senior officials were arrested in June. They face charges related to the alleged irregular appointment of Dineo Mukwele to a senior post in crime intelligence, allegedly without proper vetting. Khumalo has approached the court to have his bail conditions relaxed after an internal probe cleared him. Pusuletso Mukwena reports.
A new magistrate is expected to take over today. Part of the bail conditions for Khumalo and his co-accused is that they do not enter the crime intelligence offices. Khumalo, who recently testified at the Mahlanga Commission, fell ill 2 weeks ago while giving evidence and was booked off indefinitely.
Suspended Deputy National Police Commissioner Shedrick Sibiya claims that there is a smear campaign to prevent him from vying for the vacant position of the Hawks boss or the National Police Commissioner when it becomes vacant. He alleges that those involved in the campaign include the National Police Commissioner, Fani Masimola, and the KwaZulu-Natal Police Commissioner, Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi. Sibiya appeared before Parliament's ad hoc committee looking at concerns of national security.
It is so unfortunate, the situation in which I find myself, that when your colleagues are saying they're pushing you out, and they make life so difficult, and they even paint your name so black out there to the public and everything, in such a way that they create an irretrievably broken relationship. Now I must be the one who end up suffering. And then I also have a family. I also have kids and they are small.
The Mahlanga Commission of Inquiry in Pretoria has heard how well-known private investigator Calvin Rafadi allegedly embarked on a propaganda campaign for businessman Vusimuzi Kat Matlala. The businessman allegedly paid for Rafadi's registration for his PhD studies. Rafadi allegedly consistently asked Matlala for money during an interview with the radio station earlier this year. Rafadi praised Police Minister Senzo Mchunu for disbanding the KwaZulu-Natal Political Killing Stars team. Advocate Adla Asim read the testimony of a person whose identity the Commission has concealed and only referred to as Witness X.
And the account holder is reflected as the Director Biz Traces. That's followed by phone calls between the two. On 17 March 2025, still that same day, Mr. Rafadi requests petrol, and that's seen in the chat where he says Copa Petrol with a petrol pump. On 23 March 2025, Mr. Rafadi requests money.
The Limpopo government says the process of identifying the bodies of people killed in a recent bus crash is continuing. 17 of the 43 bodies have been identified. The bus crashed on the N1 near Louis Trichardt on Sunday afternoon. It was travelling from Gqeberha, the Eastern Cape, to Zimbabwe and Malawi. Pathologists are expected to conclude their post-mortem examinations today. The Premier spokesperson, Tilibali Moaba.
17 families have arrived at Chilidzini Hospital to identify their loved ones. The identification process will continue on Wednesday for the remaining families. Identification team has taken photographs of all the deceased, and the provincial government is encouraging families who are searching for their loved ones to visit the hospital as part of family identification.
And finally, Hamas is yet to confirm reports that it will hand over more bodies of hostages to Israel today. Hamas has handed over the bodies of 4 more hostages that were held in Gaza, bringing the number to 8. The bodies are being transferred to a forensic institute in Tel Aviv for identification. There was anger in Israel on Monday when Hamas returned just 4 of the 28 bodies held in Gaza. Recapping the top story, crime intelligence boss Dumisani Khumalo is expected to appear in the Pretoria Magistrates Court today. This after the recusal of the acting chief magistrate, Fusi Mahlangu. For SFM News, I am Ann Musa.
Outsurance will go out of their way to try and save you money on your car insurance. If they can't, ask for 500 Rand. SMS out to 30754. That's out to 30754.
54-year-old Amos isn't one to miss out on a bargain. So when Outsurance gave him a premium of only 1,004 Rand a month for his 2024 GWM P Series, it was a no-brainer. And 55-year-old Andre jumped on the deal when Outsurance gave him a premium of 776 Rand a month for his 2024 Toyota Urban Cruiser. Ready to get more out of your car insurance? SMS out to 30754 today. That's out to 30754. Outsurance, licensed insurer and FSP. T's, C's and information online.
And it's a very good morning to you in your SFM Sports Headlines. History made. Bafana qualify for the 2026 FIFA World Cup. And in cricket, Tony De Zorzi says partnerships are key as the Proteas chase their own history in Lahore, eyeing a record target to stretch their unbeaten run. Details just before 7:30.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Very good morning. If you're coming out of Pretoria, make sure you've got plenty of time to get through Route 1 today. It's really busy, high volumes and a couple of incidents. The first is a breakdown at Rigel, so coming through from Matterbury, that's heavy. And then you get to sort of Old Joburg Road and you sit all the way down through Midrand, right down to a crash at Buccleuch interchange. Very big backlogs on that M1 this morning. Roadworks on the N3 north of Buccleuch still there. Backlogs coming through from Alex. There's also some very slow traffic along that N3 between Germiston and Edenvale this morning as well. Crazy traffic coming out of Aikenoff and out of Lenasia, Protea Glen. There's been this crash on the M1 north at Diepkloof this morning. That traffic starts all the way back on the Potch Highway, the N12 at Eldorado Park through Deadman's Bend all the way up to Diepkloof. And those side roads, the exit from Lenasia out through Aikenoff is heavy, and the Golden Highway, so the local alternative from the N12 through Elders up to Devlin, really big traffic in that part of town this morning. Looking okay if you're on the run from Peter Maritzburg, heading down to Durban. Cliffdale looks all right, and the run through sort of Paradise Valley into Spaghetti Junction and onto Durban looks fine as well. Cape Town, major hold-ups on your N2 route. A crash at Lisbig Parkway in the sort of Observatory Mowbray area, just ahead of Hospital Bend. The N2 inbound backing up from the airport towards that one, but behind it, the M5 queues all the way back almost to Plumstead. Big problems trying to get off that M5 and turn into that N2 crash delay. With your traffic update, I'm Rob Byrne.
The Morning Brief with Thulasizwe Simelane. Weekdays, Monday to Friday, 6 to 9 a.m. The Morning Brief with Thulasizwe Simelane. Weekdays, Monday to Friday, 6 to 9 a.m.
9 minutes after 7 on this Wednesday. It's great to be in your company. We are into the second hour. I nearly said third. Let's blame it on Bafana. Too much excitement happening this morning. Among some of what we will tell you this morning on the Morning Brief will be this. The doors of learning temporarily shut at the University of the Free State following protests that took place at the campus, particularly in Qwaqwa. But my understanding is that other campuses, including Bloemfontein, also affected. So we'll be in conversation with the Senior Director for Communication and Marketing at the University of the Free State, that Lasia Loda. I'll get that pronunciation right by the time I speak to Lasia in the next few minutes. So we'll be focusing on the decisions that they've taken, primarily around what is known as provisional registration, which allowed students to be able to register while they sort out how to finance their studies. And it seems the university wants to move away from that. And that seems to be at the heart of these protests that we have seen. The university has its own reasoning around this issue, and we'll explore it a bit further in the next few minutes and hear that perspective and how to get back to learning and teaching at the University of the Free State. It is, of course, the second university affected by protests in this way in the last few weeks, the other one being University of Fort Hare. And then at about 7:20 or thereabouts, I'll be in conversation with Gillian Green, who is editor-in-chief of Daily Maverick. We'll be talking about this whole balance between transparency in this inquiry process at the Madlanga Commission versus the security and safety of witnesses. We saw it play itself out in quite dramatic fashion yesterday in the way that the mode of delivery of the testimony of someone called Witness X, because they're not being identified, the way that it's being delivered changed quite a couple of times yesterday. So we'll talk to Gillian Green about that balance and the role that they've been playing in trying to ensure that that balance is struck in favor of as much transparency as is humanly possible under the circumstances. All of that and more, and the number to dial is 086 000 2032 0614 104 107. Rarely do I ever call out people. Uncle JJ and Fred, the truck drivers, my truck drivers, where are you this morning? Because it feels like the Bafana moment could do with some of your energy. So let's see if by the end of the show we will have heard from all of you about that situation. All right, let's waste no further time. Let's get straight into it. The second hour of the Wednesday edition of the Morning Brief starts now.
You could spend 10 minutes waiting for that video to download. Or get a 10-minute quote from Outsurance that could save you thousands on your car insurance. SMS out to 30754. Like 48-year-old Felicity, who now pays a low 836 Rand a month for her 2020 Hyundai Tucson. With Outsurance, you get the legendary Out bonus that pays you a percentage of your premiums back if you're claim-free. SMS out to 30754. Make today the day you switch and get more out. After switching, 31-year-old Palisa now pays only 926 Rand a month for her 2024 Kia Sonet. Ready to get more out of your car insurance? Get a quote today, and if Outsurance can't beat what you're currently paying, you can ask for 500 Rand. Make that 1,500 Rand if you've been claim-free and with the same insurer for 3 years. Savings or cash, you have nothing to lose. SMS out to 30754. That's out to 30754. Outsurance, licensed insurer and FSP. TCs and information online. Fellow taxpayers, make tax matters a #1 priority by submitting your personal income tax return by the 20th of October 2025 deadline. Once your tax return is submitted, you'll receive a notice of assessment stipulating if there's any tax-assessed debt due to SARS or not. Should you owe, it's crucial to settle tax obligations on time to avoid any penalties or interest charges. SARS, at your service.
James, congrats on the babies.
Yeah, thanks. It's a wild ride.
You're a new dad, 2 babies, 0 sleep, and 1 car that apparently couldn't cope.
Yeah, the hatchback was my baby, but it just didn't have enough space for my 2 new babies.
And are you happy with the price when you sold to We Buy Cars?
Very. We've even got some extra cash to splurge on one of those fancy prams that you basically need a license for.
Good luck, James. We Buy Cars. Geared for family, geared for you.
Machabeng is building South Africa's next energy-led industrial future. Join us for the Machabeng Investment Summit on the 16th and 17th of October in Velcom, where opportunity meets innovation. From gas and green energy to logistics, agro-processing and advanced manufacturing. Discover how you can invest in a special economic zone backed by major energy projects, solar power and world-class infrastructure. Fast-track your investment. Power your growth. Be part of the future. Register now at mlmep.machabeng.co.za. Powered by energy, driven by vision.
Thulasizwe Simelane on the Morning Brief. Weekdays, Monday to Friday, 6 to 9 a.m.
15 minutes after 7. The doors of learning are temporarily shut at the University of the Free State, especially its Qwaqwa campus. This follows days of violent protests that forced the university to close the campus and order students to leave. The unrest follows the University Council's decision to scrap provisional registration from 2026, a system that student leaders say allowed poor and working class students to access higher education while securing funding. The SRC has condemned the decision as quote-unquote anti-poor and exclusionary, while the Portfolio Committee on Higher Education is also weighing in, lashing out at what it calls quote-unquote thuggish and barbaric conduct by private security during the protests. Let's talk now to Lashia Loda, who is the Senior Director, Communication and Marketing at the University of the Free State. Lashia, good morning and thank you for your time. Let's start with a status update. What is the status of learning and teaching and the presence of students at all your campuses, Qwaqwa, Bloemfontein and others?
Thank you for the opportunity, Thulasizwe, and good morning. So, just in terms of the current status, as you've indicated also in the intro, the university has suspended its lectures. We've suspended it on our Bloemfontein campus as well as our South campus. We have also closed the Qwaqwa campus in the Eastern Free State, and our students have been requested to vacate their residences as well. So at the moment, that is the situation at the university. We are keeping a close eye also on what is happening on our campuses, and we are also assessing the damage on our Qwaqwa campus.
What's your best thinking about how long this closure and suspension of academic activities is likely to last?
That's not certain, Thulasizwe. We are, as I indicated, we are assessing the situation at the moment. But we will make that decision in due course.
At the heart of it all is this question about provisional registration. My understanding is that the UFS Council decided on the 26th of September to discontinue that. Why?
So that is correct, and I just want to rectify. It's not that we are scrapping it; it's a phasing out process. So the decision of the University Council to actually phase out the provisional registration is about our students. It will provide greater certainty for our students in terms of registration status, and also it will also help to then with the studies and to plan also in terms of for their financial the finances.
Sorry, Lashia, you're saying it will provide greater certainty for students. How? How will it do that when now basically what it will mean is that previously, if I don't have the finances in hand right now, I could register and my status would be certain that I'm registered, but I'm working on financing my studies. Right now, the certainty you are talking about is if I don't have the finances, I'm not registered.
No, that's not the case. We are saying because you'll be able to fully register once your fees or your funding has been confirmed. So our students would build up debt also. So then at the end of the day, and that's the big thing, the building up of debt is it stresses them out. It really is also detrimental to our students. So
but Lashia,
we actually,
I'm sorry, but I want you to grapple with this in its totality. You are saying a student in the position that I describe will be able to have certainty once their funding is confirmed. You and I know that the confirmation of funding in many instances comes much later in the academic year. So that doesn't help me that I can only confirm my status in July, by which time what happens to me from the start of the academic year?
With this, do you mean with the new system?
Yes, with the new system.
So with the new system, Thulasizwe, we also are making bursaries available to students, academically deserving or academically qualifying students, to be able for them to study. So this will also help them. And I also just want to mention in terms of our NSFAS students. So all our students with secured NSFAS funding will continue to be registered in full, irrespective of the historical debt. Now, if I can just allude to the fact that approximately 70% of our undergraduate students will be able to register in full for next year, as they do receive funding. So these students are secured in terms of that funding that they are receiving from NSFAS.
Lastly, Lashia, grapple with the situation around debt for me before we part ways this morning. There's a temporary agreement between that allows students with historic debt of under 30,000 Rand to register for 2026. It's been slammed by student leaders as out of touch with the reality of students and what they owe to universities.
So at the moment, Thulasizwe, we are saying, yes, as you rightfully say, that academically qualifying students will have to reduce also the historic debt to qualify to 30,000 Rand to qualify and to register in full in 2026. So they can register in full next year if they pay a first payment and settlement payment by end of May. So in other words, we are also assisting those students also to make sure that they can still continue with their studies.
All right.
But we also will prioritize them in funding applications for bursaries, provided that they have given proof of their application. So there's also support available to those students. And as I indicated, also we have got bursaries also in terms of our for final year students, etc. We also have a Vice Chancellor and ISRC in Beru Legacy Fund that we've also created this year specifically for our students.
All right, thank you for your time this morning. That's Lashia Loda, who is Senior Director, Communication Marketing at the University of the Free State. I get a feeling that this is a conversation we will return to quite a number of times in the coming weeks.
Big stories of the day. #The Morning Brief.
All right, let's move on to this story now. And the Madlanga Commission of Inquiry is what we're focusing on. Testimony at the Madlanga Commission of Inquiry taking an unexpected turn yesterday after technical problems forced a change in how the confidential witness X would deliver their evidence. The witness, whose identity and voice are being concealed for safety reasons, was initially testifying remotely through an intermediary, but the setup was halted when Justice Mbuyiseli Madlanga ruled it could compromise their security. Madlanga has now directed that the evidence leader will read witness X's statement onto the record instead of live communication. It's the latest ruling following an earlier agreement between the Commission's evidence leaders and media houses Daily Maverick and News 24, allowing witnesses to testify remotely and off camera while still ensuring a degree of transparency in the proceedings. Julian Green is editor-in-chief of Daily Maverick. Good morning to you and thank you for your time. You were among the people that were quite active in opposing the almost a blanket in-camera approach. In camera, by that we mean someone that we don't see in camera, which is, it sounds like the opposite of what you mean. Tell me why this is an important cause and why you are taking it up so vociferously despite the concerns around safety of witnesses.
Morning to Thulasizwe and morning to the listeners. Look, our position is not to expose any witnesses to additional harm. We appreciate that the security of witnesses is a real concern, that there are absolute risks that they face in delivering this testimony, and so it's not our intention to add to that risk. What we were really arguing about is the application of a blanket ban on witness testimony for in-camera hearings. I think you would have been aware that the Commission on Friday sent out a statement saying that the coming week there will be in-camera testimony of several witnesses, and that will be not open to the media or any kind of information coming out of there. And that is where our concern rises. Is not that there needs to be in-camera witness testimony from time to time, but that this needs to be argued on a case-by-case basis.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, we can't accede to what effectively would become a blanket of secrecy around some of the testimony coming out of the Commission.
Locate that within the values that we're trying to advance in our democracy, especially given the sensitivity of some of the testimony that we're hearing. Even in General Ntantla Mkhwanazi's testimony before Madlanga Commission, but also in Parliament, you kept hearing about, well, in camera, I'll be able to show you a bit more. Just talk to that, the balance that we're trying to strike.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's always a balance that needs to be achieved. The balance is between what is areas of legitimate security concerns and what is the balance, the opposite of that is the public's right to know. I mean, we are dealing with our police service here, which essentially is around the safety of South Africans. And that's what we need to balance out. Is the concern of the person giving the testimony legitimate and outweighs the public's right to know about what is happening within our police service?
So now there is an agreement in place. We saw how it started to unfold with Witness X yesterday, ran into some difficulties. The modalities had to change. But I also heard in the ruling being handed down by retired Justice Madlanga that it's a bit complex. There are different arrangements for different witnesses going forward, but there's also elements that you still need to hammer out. Talk to that a bit more. What does the rest of the agreement look like going forward?
Yeah, look, I mean, you would have seen in the order handed down yesterday that there, as you say, different kinds of in-camera options for different witnesses. In some cases, the Commission or the evidence leaders are going to argue that some witnesses their testimony cannot even be heard via an intermediary or through the evidence leader reading out their witness statement. Our position on that is, if that comes to bear, then at that particular witness's testimony, that needs to be argued on a case-by-case basis. As I said in the beginning, we appreciate the risks that witnesses are taking in coming forward. And in the interest of ensuring that we get a full picture, our position is not to risk that. But we do want to be able to understand the why these witnesses need to deliver their testimony under such a cover.
All right, let's leave it there for this morning. Thank you for your time. Gillian Green is Editor-in-Chief of Daily Maverick.
This is SAFM Sport with Zai Khan.
Zai, you are in Mbombela. Talk to me. Did you dance in Mbombela? Was there a dance that happened? Because this time around, actually, we needed to dance.
Yeah. We are coming to America. What? Mbombela feels like America. Times Square. Yeah. It does. And it feels like New Year's Eve. I must tell you, last night was fantastic and a lot of dancing happened. The boys have done it. They have booked their ticket to the World Cup that's happening in North America. And yes, we will dance. And dance, we know very how. We were doing the beautiful dance yesterday. Wonderful news for Hugo Bruges' boys. Absolutely fantastic to see how we did it as well last night. 3-0 against Rwanda. And Bafana are back in football's biggest stage since 2010. And we're looking forward to the excitement as they got themselves over the line. And what a way. Ivory Coast as well and Senegal have sealed Africa's final 2 automatic qualifying spots for the FIFA World Cup. In Dakar, Senegal breezed past Mauritania 4-0 with Sadio Mane netting twice, before Iliman Ndiaye and Habib Diallo wrapped up a dominant display The result confirmed the Teranga Lions as Group B winners, 2 points clear of DR Congo. And in Abidjan, Ivory Coast beat Kenya 3-0. Frank Kessie opened the scoring before 19-year-old Yan Diomande doubled the lead, and Manchester United's Amad Diallo curled in that free kick to seal the win. Now, both teams will join South Africa, and it'll be exciting to see this expanded 2026 finals happening in Canada, Mexico, and the USA. Elsewhere, Sweden's FA have sacked their head coach, John Dahl Tomasson, after a string of poor results in qualifying, while England secured their place with a 5-0 win in Latvia, Harry Kane scoring twice to take his international tally to 76. Cricket at the Gaddafi Stadium in Lahore, Tony de Zorzi's century and his partnership with Ryan Rickleton kept the Proteas in the contest on day 3 of the first test against Pakistan. South Africa posted 269 in their first innings, still trailing Pakistan's 378. But after bowling Pakistan out for 167 second time round, De Zorzi and Rickleton returned to the crease, and they will resume today, needing 226 more for victory. Here's De Zorzi on his century.
I would say it would be one of my favourite ones because the conditions are tough. The team was in a tough position. I was in a tough position off the field, trying to get back into the team. So those mental battles and physical battles, I was injured. So for me, I think it was a special one. Literally, my family and friends were watching. So yeah, probably one of my favourites, but it's not like I have 100 to compare against.
And finally, in the pool, 19-year-old Chris Smith delivered South Africa's standout swim at the World Athletics World Cup in Indiana. Smith stormed to gold in the men's 50 metres breaststroke in 25.75 seconds. Team SA added 3 more bronzes across the opening leg to place 10th overall in the medal standings. We'll be back, swim it, at the top of the hour. I'm Zai Khan.
Good morning, I'm Anne Musa. In the headlines, the last group of students from the University of the Free State's Qwaqwa campus is leaving. The students are trying to meet this morning's deadline that the university set for them to vacate the campus. It follows protests that broke out on Monday night. Crime intelligence boss Thumisani Khumalo is expected to appear in the Pretoria Magistrates Court today. This after the recusal of the acting chief magistrate Vusi Mahlangu, and suspended Deputy National Police Commissioner Shedrick Sibiya claims that there is a smear campaign to prevent him from vying for the vacant position of Hawks boss or the National Police Commissioner when it becomes vacant. I'll have details on these and other stories at 8.
This traffic report is brought to you by Auto & General Business Insurance. Auto & General, never not there. Auto & General is a licensed non-life insurer and FSP. T's and C's online.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
It's a heavy one coming through mid-Rand on your way to Joburg this morning. Make sure you've got plenty of time to get through. It's a high volume midweek Wednesday, plus an earlier crash at Buccleuch. The crash is being cleared, but it will just take a while for the traffic to normalise because there's so much more at this hour pouring into the top end. So Old Joburg Road, it's across all lanes, all the way down into the Buccleuch interchange. Other side of town, coming in from the south, still being held up on that N1 into this earlier crash at the Diepkloof interchange. Traffic parking back from Diepkloof all the way down to the N12 Potch Highway. That's only half the story. The highway's heavy, but those alternative routes like the Golden Highway up into Devland, and particularly around Golden Highway Nirvana Drive, just east of Lenasia, and then out through in towards Akerhof. Very, very slow as motorists scramble for those alternative routes. Roadworks on the N3 north of Buccleuch, south at London Road, causing delays and backlogs both ways. Durban, fairly heavy around Pinetown, M13 outbound to Paradise Valley, and a crash on the M7 going in around the St John's Avenue Bridge area, so that's causing extra delays this morning. N2 M2 from the M7 up through Westwood Mall. Fairly standard in terms of the delays that you'll find. It is heavy, but it's like that every morning. Cape Town, a breakdown now on the N2 inbound at Hospital Bend. The N2 into town's heavy, super heavy this morning due to an earlier crash at Mowbray Main Road. That's being cleared, but there's now a breakdown at the front of that queue. So really heavy on the N2 in from the airport. Behind that, the M5 backs all the way to Grassy Park, sort of down around Southfield Parkwood. From there, you're going to sit in the M5 all the way up to that N2 turning. Baden-Powell, quite busy as you head through Strandfontein towards Muizenberg, and quite a backlog on the N2 bridge on Baden-Powell if you're heading out towards Somerset, if you're heading out to Stellenbosch. And just on Somerset West, a lot of traffic this morning on the N2 inbound and outbound around the Victoria Street junction. Rob Byrne, SAFM Traffic.
The traffic report was brought to you by Auto & General Business Insurance. Auto & General, never not there. Auto & General is a licensed non-life insurer and FSP. T's and C's online.
The Business Update on SAFM.
Let's turn to Ndauling Lechela for that, the second update of the morning. And Ndauling, there's something pathetic about the fact that I found myself bargaining with the situation and feeling if only what Moody's is projecting for South Africa's economy, if only, as mediocre as it is, if only it would happen. It's something pathetic about that.
That's right, Thulas. I mean, us really averaging growth of less than 1% over the past decade is really, really disappointing. And even when you look at these expectations, it's like, yes, it's small, 1.6%, but you really hope that we do hit that mark. Of course, Moody's expecting the local economy to grow 1.6% in 2026, up from its forecast of about 1% growth this year. But it's warning that faster growth is needed to ease debt pressures. The agency's senior credit officer, Evan Wallman, said the expected expansion is still subdued, noting that while reforms in logistics are progressing, private investment remains too limited to lift potential growth beyond 2%. Now, the forecast is the most upbeat among ratings agencies, with Fitch expecting 1.2% growth and S&P Global 1.5%. Now, Wallman praised the Treasury's fiscal discipline and recent public sector cost-cutting measures, but he cautioned that without stronger momentum, debt ratios will stay elevated, adding that it'll be difficult for the country to achieve a meaningful decline in government debt without significantly higher growth. Now, Moody's rates South Africa at Ba2, which is junk, but our outlook has improved to stable. The agency will review the rating again on the 5th of December.
Yeah, it's really painful to find yourself wishing for that 1.6, which is really negligible. But, you wish for it given where we've been for the past decade and a half or so. Let's talk business confidence then, while still talking about that. Tell me about business confidence ticking higher in September.
So morale climbing for the second straight month in September, signaling a cautiously improving outlook. The SA Chamber of Commerce and Industry's Business Confidence Index rose to 121.1 points from 120 in August. And Saki said the latest gains reflected stronger real activity and firmer financial conditions, with the lift coming from higher tourist arrivals, stronger commodity prices, rising export volumes, and a rebound in new vehicle sales. In addition, a sustained rally in JSE share prices pointed to growing investor appetite. Still, higher utility costs and a drop in export volumes on an annual basis dampened some of the momentum. The chamber warned that fragile structural fundamentals and global trade uncertainty continues to shadow the recovery. It pointed to the risk posed by U.S. tariffs and the lack of clarity over the future of AGOA, saying these could stall confidence gains if left unresolved. While a more stable financial environment has supported sentiment, Saki noted that this has yet to ignite meaningful investment or job creation, also speaking to, real economic activity and growth as well. It described the moment as a financially stable opportunity that needs to be converted into tangible growth through fresh thinking and policy recalibration.
So how are we looking at the market in the markets at this hour, Ndawling?
Starting in the US, markets charging ahead with the Japanese Nikkei leading the gains, up 1.4%. Now, this comes as investors piled back into Asian tech counters while also assessing Chinese inflation data. Over in the US, futures in positive territory with traders cheering a strong start to earnings season. Back at home, though, the JSE taking a bit of a knock in yesterday's session, weighed by the industrials, resulting in a 0.2% decline in the all share. Oil also on the back foot as supply risks make a comeback. Brent sitting at $62 per barrel this morning. Then over in currencies, the rand steady despite a fall in mining production. It's trading at 17.31 to the dollar this hour.
All right, thank you for that. That's Ndawling Lechela there with your second update of the morning. She'll be back with one more update just after 8:30.
At Auto & General, we understand your business is built on more than just vehicles. It's your stock, tools and equipment, and the premises where you work. Auto & General Business Insurance is designed for businesses like yours, protecting your assets against fire, theft, storms, and other unexpected events. To protect your livelihood, visit autogen.co.za and get an obligation-free business insurance quote. Auto & General, never not there. Auto & General is a licensed non-life insurer and FSP. T's and C's online.
Catch the Tastemaster Junior this Tuesday evening at 7:30 on SABC2 as Judge Fritz Squirn shows the contestants how to make boerewors from scratch. Then it's their turn to create their own version and present a winning feast. Who'll serve up a meaty masterpiece and who'll get caught up in the grind? That's the Tastemaster Junior, Tuesday evenings at 7:30. Repeat Wednesdays at 1 and Sundays at 4 p.m. Only on SABC2.
Call Thulasizwe now. 086 000 2032.
All right, let's take a few of your voice notes. I want to start with this one, the conversation that was started earlier on by one of the callers expressing a skepticism about the explanations for the encounter between President Ramaphosa and Hangwani Maumela, who was named in the Tembisa hospital looting investigation of the SIU, and the president explaining the relationship between Maumela and his ex-wife some 4 decades ago. So let's play that voice note, and then I'll take a few others.
Hey, morning, I'm going. If President Wezra can lie with a straight face like that, just imagine what tells our children. The grandfather, the great-grandfather of our children lies with a straight face like that and denies someone that he knows, someone that he truly knows, because ties in families don't break, just completely break. And it's not a coincidence that this Maumela now is coming to the fore when Mr. President is in charge. Ramaphosa, yes, he's taking us for a ride. Pilani here from Howick.
All right, Pilani, thank you for that. I think I made the point earlier on that the presidency may want to take this one very seriously. The trust deficit is quite palpable in our society. We've had to adapt and accept many explanations that when you listen to it, you think, is this plausible? And you say, okay, benefit of the doubt. Then something else happens and you think, is this plausible? So we are at that point where the trust deficit is such that it's not enough to explain it away in one explanation. I don't know what they need to do, but certainly a lot of people saying, are you really telling us that you did not know this person? And also, secondly, you did not know that they live nearby. The explanation is there. The president gave it, but let's see how it all unfolds going forward. Someone wants to weigh in on the Gaza war and the ceasefire that is now taking shape in that area.
Good morning, Thulas and your team. This is Sakile Ntsokwini from Kamshabyalinga. You know, Thulas, given what happened in Gaza yesterday, I am led to believe that the war in Gaza will resume once all the hostages have been released. Thank you.
Yo, Sakil. Yeah, we can't afford that, hey? Given the toll that it has taken on Palestinians, we really, really cannot afford to have that resume. But I understand where you're coming from and your skepticism about it. I'm using skepticism a lot, am I not, Selma? All right, I must rein it in.
Morning to us, morning to us. Kitsu. This lady, Lucia, is not answering your questions. She is running away from your questions. There's definitely bigger things that are happening there than this. Thank you.
Yeah, and that has to do with the University of the Free State and this approach that they are now seeking to take. They're saying it's not a termination of the provisional registration, but it's a phasing out. So eventually, we will get to a point where students won't be able to say, I'm registering pending me securing funding for my studies. They want to move away from that. In fairness, they do have a case that they are advancing, that the student debt is becoming impossible to cope with and to manage. In fact, I saw some reporting saying that it's coming close to R1 billion. So that they face that difficulty as well. But you're certainly right that there's a lot more to be said for that policy that says you can only confirm your full registration once your funding situation has been secured and finalized. That is where the students are really, really unhappy. Madeline Hicklin is the DA Gauteng Health spokesperson and joins me calling in. Good morning to you, Madeline. You want to talk about the suspension of the HOD in the Department of Health, yeah?
Good morning, Thulasizwe. Yes, I certainly do. Thulasizwe, we have as I was listening to your comment and to your listener's comment about the president suddenly making this admission that he knew Maimela but didn't know him. We definitely have a trust deficit in this country, and the sooner we realize that people can't talk their way out of situations, the better we're going to be. And it goes back to my point that I wanted to make about the suspension of
that the couches are now lost and the money is, there's just stories around this guy, and he likes to giggle when he lies.
Yeah, there you have it. So varied views there coming through. And I think that last comment talks to the number of instances where benefit of the doubt has been given, such that in this environment of a trust deficit, you now need to explain far much more than you. Benefit of the doubt has been something that has been extended, such that when this now comes up, don't be surprised that people are skeptical.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Still very slow south of Joburg coming, out of the Lenasia Eldorado Park areas. It all started with a crash on the M1 North at Deepcliff. It's being cleared, but there is a breakdown there now. So the N1 coming from the N12 Potchefstroom Highway up to Deepcliff is heavy. The Golden Highway from Eldos to Devlin, that's heavy through to Nature Arena. And just exiting out of Lenasia, really big traffic this morning. Nirvana Drive down to Golden Highway, and then the Nirvana Drive extension out towards the R82 at Kibble Park. A lot of traffic bypassing the highways and ending up causing a secondary delay. Crash leaving Soweto on the M1 North before Maresburg, so that's heavy. The N17 between Brakpan and Boksburg, both ways being held up by roadworks. And the N1 South coming out of Pretoria this morning, there's a heavy backlog going down to Linwood Road. That's from sort of Stormful Road to Linwood Road's heavy. And then you get to the old Joburg Road and you get to sit in traffic all the way down to the Buccleuch interchange and down to Woodmead. The earlier crash at Buccleuch has been cleared, but that traffic for a high volume Wednesday is going to take some time to recover, and it is very heavy. Pinetown exiting on the M13 to Paradise Valley stays very slow this morning. And Cape Town, the N2 inbound from the airport through to Hospital Bend, that's heavy. An earlier crash at Mowbray Main's being cleared, but again, just the high volume taking a while to work through. Behind that, the M5 is heavy from Southfield sort of Parkwood area. Traffic all the way up to the N2. And the problem on Baden-Powell this morning, heading towards Muizenberg, is a broken down vehicle just past Strandfontein. That's still quite a heavy queue along that coastal route. Rob Byrne, SAFM Traffic.
Whether it is a CCMA referral, problems with a mechanic, unfair blacklisting, or an uncontested divorce, Clientele Legal offers professional legal services to all South Africans. Our plans are affordable, and you receive up to 745,000 rand worth of legal services per year. We cover civil, criminal, and labor-related matters. Our nationwide legal teams are standing by to support you 24 hours a day. Plus, all plans include a 5,000 rand bail benefit. Join today. SMS SAFM to 32195. That's SAFM to 32195. Clientele General is an authorized FSP and licensed non-life insurer. T's and C's online. Standard rates apply.
Thulasizwe Simelane on SAFM.
7 minutes to 8, and it's actually coming up to 6 minutes to 8. We touched on this story yesterday, and I made light of it, made a comment about, they went from being called Your Worship and wondering whether they're calling each other comrades while they're picketing. But we're coming back to it because beyond that quip, there are actually serious issues that it raises. More than 50 magistrates from the Durban Magisterial District staging a peaceful lunchtime picket on Monday, protesting poor salaries, lack of benefits, and long-standing inequalities in the judiciary. Organized by the Judicial Officers Association of South Africa, that's JOASA, the protest highlighted deep frustration among magistrates who say their calls for reform have been ignored for decades. Let me speak to Neelan Karikan, who is the president of the Judicial Officers Association of South Africa. Neelan, good morning and thank you for your time. Just explain the context for why we saw magistrates robed in their robes, their black and red robes, standing and picketing outside the court in Durban. What's at the heart of that picket?
Thank you so much for the opportunity and allowing the lower court judges this platform. Very importantly, beyond the organization being supportive of what is happening, remember there are various groups that are being formed within the magistracy, including the Independent Association of Magistrates currently, and they were primarily in the forefront of this initiative, and we are very supportive of them. The issues were very clear, and I think you would have already seen the different placards that were placed in the public domain. And when it comes to the issues that we are facing, this is not something that's new. It's been happening for the last 17 years, and the lower court judges, for some strange reason, have been neglected insofar as their independence, insofar as a single judiciary is concerned, You will be surprised and shocked when we talk about magistrates that are earning even lower than the most junior of prosecutors out there. So the issues are very vast. It ranges from pension to remuneration to protection. It's a systemic issue that we are having. And what's currently happening now is only the start. Started off in KZN, and the independent magistrates have taken the initiative themselves. Remember, this is something that's going to be ultimately rolling throughout the whole country. And right now in Gauteng, we are already mobilizing to do a similar event. And it's going to roll out to the Western Cape and ultimately emanating with the Constitutional Court, where a memorandum and a major gathering is going to happen there.
So when we talk about disparities between magistrates, lower court judges, as you call them, and judges in the superior courts, how do those manifest? I mean, I was reading somewhere, for instance, talk about medical aid and housing and travel allowances. What's the difference? What happens with the superior court judges versus what happens with the lower court magistrates?
Thank you so much. You will actually be very shocked that the High Court judges, the High Court judiciary is treated totally different from the lower court judges. And remember, we do the same work. There's no difference. The fact that you call a lower court judge a magistrate doesn't mean that they need to be discriminated, whether it's in terms of remuneration, benefits, long service awards, or the full spectrum right now is the issues that we are having. And when you do that comparison, and remember, we're not here to compare ourselves to High Court judges. But to be fair, remember, our anchor is our Chief Justice. And every judicial officer thus far thereafter permeates from the Chief Justice to the magistrate on the ground in the lower courts. So it's very important that there needs to be that parity. And the comparison is vast, it's scary. And when it comes to payments, salaries, remuneration, benefits, tools of trade, having researchers, all of those issues are glaring, and everybody knows that. And currently, as it stands, the Chief Justice, the IRC, and the Minister of Justice, they all are currently working very fast to play catch-up, because the magistrates, they would not normally go to the streets. Why would they do that? But their hand is forced. Nobody has taken ownership of them. We are in no man's land. Therefore, we are forced to exercise our rights in terms of the Constitution, particularly Section 17, when it comes to picketing, and to draw attention to what our requirements and needs are.
So lastly, talk to me about how this features within the conversation about the dignity of the judiciary in the country. But secondly, I'm wondering if at a conceptual level there's something to be said about the security, not just of tenure, but also of I suppose, remuneration as it relates to the incorruptibility of various judicial officers, presiding officers at the various levels of the court. Does it ultimately come down to that?
Thank you so much. You need to appreciate, sir, that magistrates need to pay their bonds, need to pay their cars, need to pay for varsity fees, need to pay for medical aid, for their own personal security. They get zero protection in that regard. Right now, our magistrates are literally going under debt review. Why should that be so? Remember, we preside over those cases. We determine whether someone needs to go on debt review or not. We decide on maintenance issues. We decide on every aspect. We give life imprisonment in the regional court. Remember, when it comes to quantum judgments, we do that. No different from the High Court. The only difference is the High Court has inherent jurisdiction and does reviews and appeals. And then where does that end? It doesn't. It's over. At the end of the day, the work is in the ground, in the magistrate's court. And if you don't look after your magistrate, and then you wonder why strange things happen in the magistrate's court, and you neglect and ignore your magistrates. Remember, for a prosecutor, a senior public prosecutor, to be earning close to 2 million rand, and I'll be very blunt about it. And then you get a district court magistrate earning 1.2, taking home about 50K net. We must talk net. People like to talk about we're earning 1 million rand. 1 million rand, and then the government taxes us to the hilt, and we must pay for every aspect and get zero protection. Maybe we need to reach a stage where we don't need money. Just give us a house, give us a car, give us medical aid. Just do that, and don't put a figure to it, and tell me whether we can survive or not. then you can do the comparison. Right now, we can take no more, and we are not going to allow this. Therefore, we've really now embarked. We are not going to accept, and we're going to do what's necessary.
All right, let's leave it there for this morning. Nilan Karikan is the president of the Judicial Officers Association of South Africa. Let's go to N. Musa on standby with the latest news.
Outsurance is in the business of saving you money on your car insurance premium. If they can't, ask for 500 Rand. SMS out to 30754. That's out to 30754.
In our top stories, University of the Free State students vacate the campus and crime intelligence head Dumisani Khumalo to appear in court. Good morning. The last group of students from the University of the Free State's Qwaqwa campus are leaving this morning to meet the university's deadline for them to vacate the campus. It follows protests that broke out on Monday night against the university's decision to end provisional registration from next year. Some students were injured and one was admitted to hospital following a standoff with the university's security on Monday. Some university properties were also vandalized. Lihloho Nolo is one of the students from the campus.
It's quite a sad matter that the institution is going to hire people from private companies to come and actually protect the buildings of the institution. But those people are not protecting the buildings of the institution, but are harming students.
Crime intelligence boss Dumisani Khumalo is expected to appear in the Pretoria Magistrates Court today. This after the recusal of the acting chief magistrate Vusi Mahlangu. KwaZulu-Natal Police Commissioner Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi implicated Mahlangu in wrongdoing when he alleged that some officers in the judiciary were colluding with criminals. Khumalo and other senior officials were arrested in June. They face charges related to the alleged irregular appointment of Dineo Mukwele to a senior post in crime intelligence, allegedly without proper vetting. Khumalo has approached the court to have his bail conditions relaxed after an internal probe cleared him. Buseletso Mukwena reports.
A new magistrate is expected to take over today. Part of the bail conditions for Khumalo and his co-accused is that they do not enter the crime intelligence offices. Khumalo, who recently testified at the Mahlanga Commission, fell ill 2 weeks ago while giving evidence and was booked off indefinitely.
Suspended Deputy National Police Commissioner Shedrick Sibiya claims that there is a smear campaign to prevent him from vying for the vacant position of Hawks boss or the National Police Commissioner when it becomes vacant. He alleges that those involved in the campaign include the National Police Commissioner, Fani Masimula, and the KwaZulu-Natal Police Commissioner, Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi. Sibiya appeared before Parliament's ad hoc committee looking at concerns of national security.
It is so unfortunate, the situation in which I find myself, that when your colleagues are saying they're pushing you out and they make life so difficult and they even paint your name so black out there to the public and everything in such a way that they create an irretrievably broken relationship. Now, I must be the one who end up suffering. And then I also have a family. I also have kids and they are small.
Music executive Nhlamulo Notabaloy says he hopes to reapply for a new US visa. This after the State Department revoked his current visitor's visa over comments made in the aftermath of Charlie Kirk's assassination. Baloy, who is currently in Johannesburg, was among 6 foreign nationals who had their visas revoked for making derisive comments about Kirk. Baloy says revoking his visa is an attack on the resistance to white supremacy and racism.
This is an attack, on basically our resistance to white supremacy and racism. The fact that we cannot call out characters such as Charlie Kirk for their racist rhetoric, which is hyper-focused on calling out the degeneracy that they see in black communities, but accepting no accountability for the conditions that black people find themselves in. The whole premise that white men are victims of society in this woke world.
And finally, local media in Sudan are reporting that food supplies in Al Fasher are running out. This after the paramilitary rapid support forces completed a drone and artillery attack on a displacement camp in the capital of North Darfur state. The city has been under siege since April. The BBC's Julian Bedford reports.
Reports emerged at the weekend that the food kitchens that had become essential to keeping the civilian population alive were closing down. The scant supplies of smuggled food that had been reaching Al Fasher were disrupted once the berm was completed. Even supplies of animal fodder have dwindled, and civilians in Al Fasher have been eating these for some time. Only the armed forces in the city are being resupplied via airdrops by Khartoum.
Recapping the top story, the last group of students from the University of the Free State's Kwakwa campus are leaving this morning to meet the university's deadline for them to vacate the campus. It follows protests that broke out on Monday night. For SAFM News, I am Anne Musa.
Outsurance will go out of their way to try and save you money on your car insurance. If they can't, ask for 500 Rand. SMS out to 30754. That's out to 30754. You could spend 10 minutes waiting for that file to download. Or get a 10-minute quote from Outsurance that could save you thousands on your car insurance. For his 2024 Ford Ranger, 57-year-old Andy now pays only 1,083 Rand a month. And for her 2020 Hyundai Tucson, 48-year-old Felicity pays just 836 Rand a month. Ready to get more out of your car insurance? SMS out to 30754. That's out to 30754. Outsurance, licensed insurer and FSP. TCs and information online.
It's a very good morning to you in your SFM Sports headlines. Soccer, South Africa is celebrating this morning. Bafana have qualified for the 2026 FIFA World Cup in America. And we also bring you cricket action that's underway. The Proteas fighting back, but they still face an uphill task against Pakistan in Lahore. Details just before 8:30.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Good morning. Still very heavy on the N1 coming in from the south up towards Deepcliff Interchange. Earlier crash at the interchange being cleared, but there's now a breakdown, so that heavy traffic stays from the N12 Potch Highway. Get past that, and there's a crash near Albertina Sisulu Road, so Soweto through to Maresburg being held up as well. The N3 north into Buccleuch, south to London Road, the roadwork's still there. It's all very heavy. The Mike 1 this morning queuing up from Boysons all the way effectively to about Greyston Drive. Before you're out of that, traffic lights out on the main road between Kyalami and Lone Hill. And the N1 South stays heavy today, backlogging from the old Joburg Road all the way through down to Woodmead. An earlier crash has been cleared, but the traffic hasn't really got to move on, such as the volume. Durban's N2 North queued up to Westwood Mall. M13 out of Point Town, quite slow to the N3 Paradise Valley junction this morning. And Cape Town, the N2 inbound from the airport through towards Hospital Bend stays heavy. There is a crash along that route at the N7 Jakes Kerville Drive exit as well. M3 from top of Wynberg Hill all the way through to Hospital Bend, very busy. The N1 from Plattercliff down to City Centre slow, and a breakdown on Baden Powell at Strandfontein, delaying traffic en route to Muizenberg. With your traffic update, I'm Rob Byrne.
The Morning Brief with Thulasizwe Simelane. Weekdays, Monday to Friday, 6 to 9 a.m. The Morning Brief with Thulasizwe Simelane. Weekdays, Monday to Friday, 6 to 9 a.m.
9 minutes after 8, we are into the third hour of the Morning Brief on this Wednesday. I'm Thulasizwe Simelane. Always great being in your company. I really enjoy the conversations that we have. Let me start with one or two of your messages that have come through. Palandwa in Campton Park asking, why does N. Musa keep calling Makado town by the old name of Louis Trichardt? And I've heard people saying Louis Trichardt. I'm not sure which one is the correct pronunciation. Whereas PE, it's been called by the new name of Gqeberha. Palandwa, I thought I was misremembering, but I actually went back and checked. There was a court order in 2014. So the name changed officially from Louis Trichardt to Louis Trichardt to Makado. but it was taken it was taken on in the courts. And in 2014, there was an outcome that ordered that the name be reinstated to Louis Trichardt, and with the result that it feels as if the powers that be and authorities then lost the appetite for the name change, and it has stayed exactly what it is since then. Unless something else is brewing, that's that then. Mompati in Boxback. I appreciate you, Mompati. Mompati says, Thulasizwe and team, you recently complained about your dry jokes. I must say, I catch them late and laugh out loud alone a little later. So, example that Mompati is giving there. Latest, we're coming to America and not going to America. Lol, says Mompati there. Thank you, Mompati. At least someone gets it. Other than me laughing at my own dry jokes, I said they're as dry as a martini. But Zaikan takes credit for we're coming to America. Let me go to this last one, Makaye. Who is in Howick, who says, it's complicated really with this Madlanga commission. I think Justice Madlanga is correct in exercising caution. Witnesses have to be protected at all costs. These are people and have loved ones. When a top cop is getting and giving information to thugs and he sees nothing wrong with it, I wouldn't want to be giving any evidence to anyone for that matter. Who can you trust these days? Asks Makaye in Howick. Thank you for that, Makaye. You can keep the conversation going. 086 000 2032 is the number to dial, but you can also send me a WhatsApp voice note and other messages that I will get to a bit later on. 0614 104 107. In the next few minutes, I'm in conversation with the Gauteng provincial government spokesperson Elijah Mhlanga to do with the suspension of the head of department of the Department of Health. That and more coming up.
Think about 6 years ago when Amapiano was just a musical instrument, when streaming meant watching water flow, not videos online, and remote work was only said when your remote batteries died. So it makes you wonder, what will the next 6 years bring? Hino trucks now come standard with a 6-year drivetrain warranty, covering everything from pistons to gears. So although a lot can change in 6 years, our warranty promise won't. T's and C's apply. Hino, all the way.
Machabeng is building South Africa's next energy-led industrial future. Join us at the Machabeng Investment Summit on the 16th and 17th of October in Velkom, where opportunity meets innovation. From gas and green energy to logistics, agro-processing and advanced manufacturing. Discover how you can invest in a special economic zone backed by major energy projects, solar power and world-class infrastructure. Fast-track your investment, power your growth, be part of the future. Register now at mlmep.machabeng.co.za. Powered by energy, driven by vision.
You are listening to the Morning Brief with Thulasizwe Simelane.
13, in fact, make that 14 minutes after 8. A shake-up in the top echelons of the Gauteng Health Department's leadership. Premier Panyaza Lesufi suspending Lesiba Malutana, the head of department, with immediate effect. The move comes amid a special investigating unit probe into alleged tender corruption and maladministration, including the 2 billion rand looting scandal at Tembisa Hospital, as well as the department's underspending to the tune of some 725 million rand last year. While Lesufi says the province remains steadfast in rooting out maladministration and upholding accountability, the SIU is playing its cards close to its chest, refusing to be drawn to comment on whether Malutana's suspension is linked to its investigations. Let's speak then to Elijah Mhlanga, Gauteng provincial government spokesperson, who joins me now. Good morning to you, Elijah, and thank you for your time. Why has this HOD been suspended? He was recently appointed, wasn't he, about a year ago? So why is he suspended now?
Good morning to Thulasizwe, and thank you very much for this opportunity. Well, he was suspended because the Premier received a report which has raised questions which need further clarity. As a result of that, a full forensic investigation needs to take place, and that cannot happen while in the office. That's why he was suspended, but it's a variety of issues.
What is that variety of issues? And I ask because the context is that in the Premier's own statement, there's allusion to the SIU and supporting the work of the SIU, but nothing more is said. What are the details of the report that the Premier has received?
Well, we're not at liberty to divulge the details at the moment. The first thing that needed to happen, as per the recommendation of the SIU report and the other reports that the Premier has received, recommend that a suspension needs to happen for a full forensic investigation to take place. But there's a valid reason to doing so. But we need to take it step by step because you also don't want to make mistakes when you're dealing with issues such as this one. There's issues of procedure, there's issues of giving the affected person an opportunity, but also the legal processes to also ensue without any disruptions.
So there's that element then that has to do with the report that you're saying whose fuller details you cannot disclose pending processes that will unfold. But what about the performance of the department itself? The DA raising red flags about, for instance, underspending to the tune of some 725 million rand in the past year. And I recall some time ago we were talking about the department starting the year with a lot of outstanding debt from last year that's now eating into this year's budget as well. So does that feature in the suspension?
It does. That's why I was saying to you that it's a variety of issues. So one is from the SIU investigation, but over and above that, we also do lifestyle audits of senior managers just as a start in the provincial government. And we also look at the targets of the department as to whether we're meeting them, what issues are there. And then when you look at everything else together, you then arrive at the decision that needs to be made. And in this instance, there's detail that gives the Premier the confidence to effect this suspension.
So when will we find out the detail? I think you said a lot in that last answer without coming out directly and saying, much. But I think you said a lot. When do we get then the fuller details? When will you be comfortable to reveal to South Africans? Because that need for transparency, I'm sure you will agree that it's now prevalent. It's more prevalent than ever before.
That's correct. There was also a need for action, and the Premier has done that. Then the need to communicate the detail will come at the right time, as indicated that you also don't want to make mistakes. So we don't want to do that because you could have a valid case, but if you don't follow procedure, you will lose it, even when you could have won it if you were slowing down and doing things in the right way. So here, at the right time, the Premier will make the announcement. Yeah. In fact, all the reports that have been conducted in terms of lifestyle audits and all other forensic reports and investigations, they are eventually made public at the right time. But when you receive a report, you look at it and then you send it back. Yeah. And as you know, SIU continues to investigate as well. So there are questions that will give us more information, right, which will then necessitate the need for communication in public.
Lastly, Elijah, so the HOD is suspended, but does that go far enough in fixing the rot at the Department of Health? Some are calling for the entire department to be placed under administration. There have been calls for the MEC, Nomantunko Moralihuku, to be sacked by the Premier. Talk to that. How far will it go? As well as what the SIU talked about, it said officials in the plural in the department in its investigation into Tembisa, for example. So what can we expect by way of further accountability and systemic fixes?
Yeah, it's there. The HOD is the ultimate accounting officer in the department. So if you're starting with that person, you are doing the right thing. I mean, you cannot start anywhere else. They say you need to deal with it from where it should have been taken care of. So if you are doing that, then it does indicate that there is intention to check everywhere else in the level. But remember also that the SIU investigation does mention the name and number of officials in the system that also need to be dealt with. So the process has started. We should just give the investigators the time to do their work and also give the Premier enough time to consider all these reports until first time that he's able to share them in public, he will do so.
All right. I've got to thank you for your time. Elijah Mhlanga. First time I talked to you, Elijah, by the way, in your new capacity, and congratulations as the Gauteng Provincial Government spokesperson.
Thank you very much.
Big stories of the day. Hashtag the morning brief.
All right, let's return to it. We started the show on a high note, and I doubt anything can put us down this morning. And that all has to do with Bafana Bafana qualifying for the World Cup 2026. We are back in the World Cup for the first time in 15 years. Make that 16, because by the time we go to the World Cup, it really will have been that long. It doesn't really roll off the tongue easily. It's not like if you are of a certain age, some of us used to say Siaya e France, but you can now certainly say Siaya e USA, Canada and Mexico. We are going, and we are going to be there. Let's unpack it all. Let's speak to Nkululeko Nkewu, co-founder of Itiski Media. Good morning to you, Nkululeko, and thank you for your time. I must confess, Nkululeko, simply because I didn't know the stakes for Nigeria, skin in the game for Nigeria, right? I thought it's quite possible that the game between Nigeria and Benin would end in a draw. I didn't know how badly they wanted it. So what I'm saying is, I wasn't so much worried about Bafana Bafana Rwanda. Somehow I felt confident that Bafana Bafana were going to pull through. But somehow I just doubted based on the other game. From your perspective, give me your perspective about how it all unfolded and how we got to this point of qualification.
To your listeners, we are that old. We remember in CIA France, alcohol companies went to town with that.
Yes. No, okay, we lost Nkululeko there. He was starting off on that note about revealing my age, revealing our ages by alluding to CIA France. Let's see if we can get Nkululeko Nkewu back on the line, because we want to pick up on that point. CIA France, if you are early 2000 and you don't know what on earth are these people talking about? This was our first qualification for the World Cup 1998 in France. That's where it was being held. And therefore, there was a great buzz about it. Even TKZ releasing that song. Remember that song, Zelma? Siaya France, Palafala. Is it Palafala? Palafala, not Palapala. Okay, all right, no, just ish. It's called Shibobo. Yes, not that's the right one. Yeah, all right. We are battling to get a hold of Nkululeko. Let's take a quick break and see if we can, get him back on the line.
This October month, SFM joins the world in breast cancer awareness. We bring you conversations that highlight the importance of early detection, survivor stories that inspire hope, and expert advice that could save lives. Together, let's spread awareness and support the fight against breast cancer. SAFM, leading the conversations that move us. This October month, SAFM focuses on cybersecurity awareness. As we live more of our lives online, staying safe in the digital world has never been more important. From spotting cyber threats to protecting your personal data, SAFM brings you the conversations that empower you to stay secure. SAFM, leading the conversations that move us. Call Thulasizwe now, 086 000 2032.
Yeah, great pity. We are battling to get a hold of Nkululeko. We'll keep trying. But in the meantime, lots of you weighing in on Bafana Bafana.
Thank you, Bruce.
Love it.
Hey, to us, those who close to Kumo in Klustop, they must check to the man.
Absolutely, he delivered.
You know, if he's a loser, Thank you, Bruce. Thank Bafana. Say over to us.
Good morning, Tulas. I'm so happy.
Yes.
The lesson has been taught. Bafana, you made my night. Thank you. I didn't watch the game, but when I saw the score, I was lying on my couch. I just jumped because I'm a mother of 3 boys. You
Three?
boys Made
No.
my day. Thank
Woo!
you. Thank you so much.
Vamos!
Yeah, no, it really was beautiful. And what I did, because like I said, I was quite comfortable with the Bafana game. I left it at some point and said, let me watch the other element that needs to fit in nicely for our path to the USA, Canada, and Mexico to be paved. Then I started watching Nigeria, Benin. To be quite honest, Nigeria were quite dominant throughout that match, and only much later did it dawn on me that actually these guys have got skin in the game. I must say I've not been watching the tables and where everyone stood. So I just assumed that Benin were quite comfortable, even if South Africa ends up being top of the group, they would be second and just be one of the four best placed runners up. That's what I assumed. But it turns out Nigeria actually saw themselves with a shot to go to the playoffs and be able to then qualify. So they were just as ecstatic, especially when they scored that fourth goal. They were quite ecstatic about it. And it's a win-win situation. Our brothers are happy. We are happy. Everyone is happy.
Morning to us, morning South Africa. I think also credit must be given to Ivan Khoza and his committee for making our league highly competitive. That has translated into Bafana success. You look at the players who were playing there yesterday and who have been playing all along. Most of them, 99%, are local based. Yeah. Our league has become so competent. Whilst we celebrate Bafana, we shouldn't forget that those who run our league, big ups to them.
Absolutely.
Major from Guatemala.
Major, absolutely spot on. And I did see that commentary that says, talk about the quality of the league and how it's just been on the rise, on the up and up. And it's a conversation we've had over the past year, by the way. Just the results are not just showing up now. It's the various competitions. Banyana on the other side. The lower teams, the lower age, younger division teams, your under-23s, your under-20s. We've been seeing this ascendance, re-emergence of South African football. It's really promising. It's looking good. The performances at the last Africa Cup of Nations and the likes.
This is SAFM Sport with Zai Khan.
Hey Zai, good morning.
Hey, good morning.
Did I leave anything for you?
Yeah? No, are we good? We're good. We're still riding high.
Are you sure?
We're still smiling.
You still have something to report, or did I just take everything?
It'll just reiterate everything, okay? Yeah. We're going to the World Cup. Here we come. It's Bafana. I mean, Talent and Bata, like you say, Thulas, with a name like Talent. There was also Oswin Apollos, header from Evidence Mahopa. South Africa sealing their first qualification since 2002 with help from Nigeria and their 4-0 win over Benin. Hugo Broos's men have topped Group C and sparking these celebrations across the country. So, Team South Africa will be amongst the 28 nations already confirmed for the expanded 2026 FIFA World Cup. Bafana will join the fellow African qualifiers Egypt, Ghana, Ivory Coast, Morocco, Senegal, Algeria, Tunisia and Cape Verde, the island nation with under 600,000 people, stunning Cameroon to top their group. And globally, the hosts USA, Canada and Mexico are joined by heavyweights like Argentina, Brazil, England, Japan and Australia, while New Zealand takes Oceania's only direct berth. With 48 teams in play, there'll be more drama set when Europe and CONCACAF resume their qualifiers next month. On to cricket action, and Tony de Zorzi notched up his second Test 100 on day 3 of the first Test against Pakistan in Lahore and credited that to his partnership with Ryan Rickleton on a tough Gaddafi Stadium pitch. De Zorzi came in with the team on 80 for 2 in the first innings, and the two put together a 94-run stand that helped them to 269 all out, but still short of the hosts' 378. South Africa then managed to restrict them to 167 in the second innings, and incidentally the same pair was again at the crease at the close of play, still needing 226 for the win. Here's Tony de Zorzi.
Yeah, it is what we prepared for, it is what we spoke about. We did have the correct mindset, game plans and everything going into that. I think you can see it in our team selection and how we've all tried to play and adapt. So I think we were prepared and we we'll definitely give it our best tomorrow.
And finally, South Africa's Chris Smith making waves at the World Aquatics Swimming World Cup in Indiana, snatching gold in the men's 50-meter breaststroke by just 0.03 of a second. The 19-year-old touched in 25.75 seconds, the fastest short course time in the world this year, while Team South Africa added 3 bronze medals to finish 10th overall on the medal table. That's your sport. Dive back with John Gericke at around 12:30. And just in case you missed it, Bafana have already made a splash at the World Cup party. That's your sport. I'm Zai Khan.
Good morning, I'm Anne Musa. In the headlines, the DA in Gauteng is calling for the immediate dismissal of the head of the Gauteng Health and Wellness Department, Lesiba Malotana. The party has rejected his suspension with full pay, saying it's not good enough. The last group of students from the University of the Free State's Kwakwa campus are leaving this morning to meet the university's deadline for them to vacate. It follows protests that broke out on Monday night against the university's decision to end provisional registration from next year. And the United States has seized more than $15 billion worth, or nearly 260 billion rand worth of cryptocurrency. I'll have details on these and other stories at 9.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Yeah, good morning. Coming in from the south of Joburg, it stays really heavy. There's a secondary crash this morning at the Deepcliff interchange. There was a crash and then a stationary truck, and now we're into another crash scenario. So the M1 North that was heavy stays heavy from the Potch Highway going up into Deepcliff. If you're splitting to Uncle Charlie's, you get through Deepcliff and that's where it really ends. But if you're going up towards Radberg Ridderport, you stay in traffic because the crash up before Albertina Sisulu Road on the N1 North. So passing Soweto on your way towards Maresburg, very heavy backlogs there. The N1, it's busy rather than heavy, but there's a lot of traffic this morning between Old Joburg Road and Marlborough Drive down towards Sandton. The roadworks on the N3 north of Buccleuch, south at London Road, backlogging things both ways. A lot of traffic between sort of Blue Hills, Kyalami and Lone Hill. If you're doing the R55 and then splitting down to Main Road, just a lot of volume. I guess a lot of N1 south motorists avoiding the N1 and jamming up on the R55 and then running into some traffic light problems along that Main Road option as well. Durban holding it down pretty nicely this morning. There is a breakdown, though, in the roadworks just around Umgenero. In fact, that's just being cleared. That traffic has now been released, so that's good news. A lot of it's arrived up at Gateway all at the same time. Cape Town, N1 into town, busy from Plattercliff through to City Centre. The N2's got a crash inbound after the airport near Jakes Kerville Drive, and then you stay in traffic all the way through to Hospital Bend. M5's from Kenilworth, and the M3. It's just a really busy morning as well. M3 from Constantia right through to about UCT. Absolutely jam-packed. Rob Byrne, SAFM Traffic.
The business update on SAFM.
Good morning to you once again in Dowling. Let's start in the mining sector. Figures coming through, not looking good for August.
That's right. The local mining sector losing some momentum in August as weak global demand for platinum group metals dragged overall output lower. According to Stats SA's monthly production report, output slipped 0.2% after 3 consecutive months of gains. Now, zooming in further, PGM output was down 3%, leading declines across several key minerals, including nickel, copper, gold, manganese ore, and chromium ore. Stats SA's Jean-Pierre Terblanche said the setback highlights the industry's struggles to maintain stability amid volatile markets. Now, not all commodities moved in tandem, with coal, diamonds, and iron ore posting gains. Coal was up 4.1%, adding 0.8 percentage points to total production. Terblanche said coal's steady performance reflects both strong export demand and the country's ongoing reliance on it for energy.
Let's talk, tell me about Bytes. I suppose it's in the name, really. And I think I've asked you this. I'm really sorry if I did.
Yes.
Tell me about Bytes, what they do, and how these higher costs are weighing on their earnings.
So it really is in the name. They're a tech firm that operate here at home and also in the UK. Their biggest partnership is with Microsoft, and what they do is they act as a partner within the UK and South Africa and issue out Microsoft licenses for things like Office 360 as well as Azure Cloud.
You know that song that says it's all coming back to me now?
It's all coming back.
It's all coming back to me now.
I just had to remind you, no, I understand.
Yeah.
So the group has had a bit of a tough start to its financial year, reporting a 5% decline in earnings. This is due to, or rather it was hit by higher staffing and insurance costs. Despite that, it delivered top-line growth with revenue up 2.5% to £108 million. Gross invoice income also in the green, up 9.1%, supported by a 15% growth in services and an 8.9% rise in software revenue. Moving ahead, Bytes expects to meet full-year targets as strong growth in services offset weaker software margins and a slower corporate market. The group CEO, Sam Mudd, said Bytes had entered the second half with a strong pipeline buoyed by demand for cloud, cybersecurity, and AI solutions, adding that the group remained on track despite tougher comparatives and earlier headwinds from Microsoft's partner incentives changes. Markets not really liking the news. The share price ended in the red yesterday. Last time I checked, it was down over 9%.
All right. Lastly, then, Dowling, wrap up for us the movement in the markets this morning, as well as the kind of day we can expect going forward.
So local markets likely to rebound today following the positivity we are seeing in global trade. Asian markets in the green. We're also seeing U.S. markets, U.S. futures that is in the green, and that likely to play out in the JSE today. A slow company news day with numbers only out from car track owner Karoo. Investors here at home will also be eyeing retail sales figures out later today. Now, ahead of that print, the rand making steady gains this hour. It's at 17.30 to the dollar. Meanwhile, Brent is taking a strain as oversupply risks continue to spook traders. Oil sitting just above $62 per barrel. Back to equities stateside, as mentioned, futures in the green. Investors eyeing more earnings out from the banking sector. And then lastly, in Asia, stocks charging ahead despite deflationary pressures playing out in China.
All right, thank you for that, Ndauling. That's Ndauling Lichela. She's kept you updated throughout the last 3 hours on business, economics, and the markets here on the Morning Brief.
You are listening to the Morning Brief with Thulasizwe Simelane.
All right, we're going to go back to that conversation about Bafana Bafana, right? But before I do that, let me just take 1 or 2 voice notes on that.
Morning, Thulas and team. Congratulations to Bafana. Let's also give credit to Motsepe. You know, by him buying Sundowns and buying all the best players, he has forced the other teams to kind of reach the level of where Sundowns was, and that improved the entire league. So Motsepe must also be credited, of course, as well as Dr. Ivan Khoza. Yeah, but congratulations to Bafana. Yeah. Hello, Trump. We are coming.
Good morning to us and to the listeners. I'd just like to say congratulations to Bafana for a brilliant performance and congratulations on qualifying. I just wanted to add a little comment. One of the girls that works with me, she's a Kaizer Chiefs fan, and she said she'll be very sad if Bafana qualify because all the Kaizer Chiefs players are being ignored. So I wonder how she will feel about who scored the goals yesterday.
Morning, Thulasizwe. Vincent Risimati here in Kuruman. Thulas, sports has the ability to unite a people. We saw when the Bokke won the World Cup that our then president, Nelson Mandela, wore the captain's jersey, in honor and celebration of our victory. So sports can unite the country, and we are now united as one. May it stay so forever. Thank you, Thulas. Vincent here.
Thulasizwe really needs to stop with these jokes now.
I mean, we are driving. Okay, we do not want to crash into trees. Pala pala. It's pala fala.
Mara,
Thank you
guys.
for the jokes, Thulasizwe.
Mara, it was a genuine confusion on my part. In my defense, the song came out years ago, and then there was Pala Pala, which dominated the news recently. Then my wires were getting crossed altogether. It really was a genuine one, but I'm glad you enjoyed it. Let's go then to Nkululeko Nkeu, who is co-founder of Itiski Media, and pick up on the conversation with Bafana Bafana. Good morning to you once again, Nkululeko, and I hope we've got you on a better line. The players are on screen on SABC News as we speak, coming back and from that game out in Mbombela. What were the elements that fell into place that led to this qualification, in your view?
Yeah, there's a very important voice note with the montage of voice notes that you played there, and it speaks about clubs and specific clubs, Sundowns and Pirates. In the last 5 years, Kaizer Chiefs has gone to the final of the CAF Champions League. Mamelodi Sundowns have gone to the final of the CAF Champions League. Orlando Pirates went to the semi-finals of the CAF Champions League. Marumo Gallants went to the semi-finals of the CAF Confederations Cup. Stellenbosch FC went to the semi-finals of the CAF Confederations Cup. So Africa and the junior national teams as well have been winning under 20 AFCON, under 20, under 17 COSAFA. They've been doing well. So we are almost in a golden period with our clubs, and that stimulates the growth with Bafana Bafana. At the same time as well, with COVID, a lot of national teams on the African continent struggled. A lot of them started not being able to at their own national stadiums as CAF increased the requirements and standards for being able to host an international match. So some of them are hosting matches next door to their next door neighbors. So it's like away matches, even though they play home matches. And I suppose having a pragmatic coach plays a part as well. Hugo Bros, who settled on his squad, but that squad is literally just maybe 15 players from the same club, from two different clubs. And that's a good thing because those two different clubs, Mamelodi Sundowns and Orlando Pirates, are the best clubs in our country. And then, of course, it's stimulated by a few players here and there from TS Galaxy, from this club and from another club. So it's been a convergence of factors that are positive on our side and negative factors from other nationalities as well. Zimbabwe, for example, played this 2-year qualification. Zimbabwe would have gone through maybe 4 or 5 different ups and downs, with some players retiring, not having any as the association, and so on and so forth. So there's a lot of things that happened with the national teams of the other nations that worked in our favor too. But of course, we accentuate what helped us, and what helped us was our teams taking continental football very seriously.
So you nicely pack in quite a lot in that response, Nkululeko, and I appreciate it. But there's one element that I want to tease out a little bit more. Say something more about the requirements for stadia and how that featured in terms of who plays what game where, and the element of playing at home and away. My understanding is that the Benin coach actually raised this about South Africa and said, in essence, we ended up playing a lot of our games, even though they were away games, they ended up being home games.
Yeah, we were the least traveled team, so the wear and tear on our bodies was not the same as other teams, and that's a reality. It's not a complaint. We take it. We want to go to the World Cup. So the reality is that when we play against a Lesotho or a Zimbabwe, ordinarily 20 years ago, 15 years ago, they would have been able to take us anywhere within their country to play an international game. In fact, in these qualifiers, when we played Rwanda, it was on a rainy day 2 years ago, if I'm not mistaken. But I know that it was a rainy day. It was a surface which was very wet, and they beat us 2-0. We couldn't stand a chance there because it was wet. I think it was artificial surface as well. And just when CAF lifted those standards to say you have to have accommodation that's at this level, you have to have around the stadium certain safety measures, you have to have quality of stadia, then we started seeing that even Rwanda is starting to take their opposition in better stadiums. But in terms of miles on feet, South Africa would have traveled less because we have 2 matches that we played at home, even though we were supposed to be away, and that's Lesotho and Zimbabwe. Although, of course, in spirit, they are literally just our neighboring countries, but we would have traveled less miles than all of the countries, I think, on the African continent. That worked in our favor. And I would love for our fellow African countries to, I know socially they struggle, economically they struggle, but
Yeah.
I would love for them to have a national stadium, Zimbabwe to have a national stadium, so that it maintains the spirit of the competitive integrity, so that next time when we play qualifiers,
Yeah.
we feel that we went to Zimbabwe and it was a struggle. We experienced their conditions and their refereeing and their hospitality and so on and so
Yeah.
forth, because it builds us as well.
Yeah. Nkululeko, now the qualifier is done. We've qualified. What happens next? My sense is that we did well, and there was a point where, we were firm favorites with no questions that we're looking good for it, but then there were a bit of some jitters or a bit of a stumble here and there, or a level of uncertainty that says perhaps there's still some more work to be done. Is there still some more work to be done so that when we get to these three countries, Canada, Mexico, United States, we are not there just to add the numbers. We're there to stay beyond the opening stages?
Yeah, the reality, Thulasizwe, is that there will only be 3 or 4 countries that can possibly win the World Cup next year in North America. We need to find what success means for us. Bafana has gone to 3 different World Cups before: France 98, 2002, Japan and Korea, and then 2010 South Africa. In all of those World Cups, we failed to get out of the group stages, although we won through and lost. We actually had 3 different results on 3 different World Cups in 9 different matches. So we've experienced a win, a loss, and a draw in all different World Cups that we've participated in. We need to define what success means this time around. Success will possibly mean that, can we get to the next level, which is to say, can we get to the knockout stages of a World Cup, and then we build from there. I think teams who will be looking to have a better performance levels will be Morocco, who were in the semifinals of the Qatar World Cup in 2023, and they will ask themselves, can we maintain the same standards of performance, which is at least quarterfinals, semifinals, or can they get one? Can they go one better? Argentina will go there thinking that they can win. Spain will go there thinking that they can win. England has been in many finals. They will go there thinking that they can win. I would imagine as well Brazil will experience a resurgence. So South Africa needs to define what it means to them going to the World Cup and what success means. And in addition to that, in December we'll be playing at the African Cup of Nations. And at the African Cup of Nations, we were semi-finalists 2 years ago. And again, we want to maintain that level of achievement, which is to say that, can we also be finalists and then carry that momentum to 6 months later in America to say, can we be able to do better?
Fantastic analysis as always. Thank you for that. Nkululeko Nkewu is co-founder of Itiski Media.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
It stays busy on the run north up through Joburg this morning. 2 crash scenes, one at Deepcliff Interchange. There's been a series of incidents there. The latest incident has just been cleared. So that traffic M1 north through Deepcliff Interchange finally starting to move. But ahead of that, very heavy through Soweto as you head up to Ruderpoort. Crash on the M1 north just before Albertina. Sisulu, other side of town, collision N3 north at Hell delays. Big traffic coming out of Alberton off the N12 through Elands and up past the cement factory into that. The N3 roadworks continue north of Buccleuch, south at London, so that's all fairly heavy. N1 south still busy this morning, but it's sort of starting to normalise. It's been a very high volume at one stage this morning. At one point we had about 8 lanes of traffic, including emergency lane users. That's how extreme the volumes were or are on a midweek Wednesday sometimes. So a lot of that volume has got through, but it's just busy between Old Joburg Road and the New Road exit. A bit of traffic coming into Rigel Avenue on the M1 South through Pretoria as well. Durban, the N2 heading up towards the airport, a breakdown near Gateway in amongst the construction there. So from Kumashu Highway, that all gets a bit banged up. If you're on the way to the airport, just factor in a bit of extra time. Cape Town as well, a busy midweek Wednesday. The N1 still chockers from Plattercliff right through to the city centre. N2 from the airport, a lot of traffic right through to sort of Mowbray Main Road. The M5 is at Kenilworth. The M3 is still very slow as well from sort of Wynberg Hill up towards the exit into UCT. And even Marine Drive not missing out on the busyness for this hour. Sunningdale through towards Sunset Beach on your way to Milnerton, still very busy as well. Rob Byrne, SAFM Traffic.
Thulasizwe Simelane on SAFM.
All right, before we go, let's turn to this really important conversation to do with the township businesses as a segment of business activity in our economy. Well, we are told that nearly 80% of township businesses in this country remain unregistered, limiting their access to finance, markets, and growth opportunities. This is one of the headline findings from Standard Bank's first ever Township Informal Economy Report, which casts the spotlight on one of the country's most vital but underserved economic sectors. Let's hear more about it. Nalezani Musomane is Head of Enterprise and Supplier Development for Business and Commercial Banking at Standard Bank. Good morning to you and thank you for your time. So this is an important piece of work that has been done because of the size and contribution of township businesses to our economy. Let's start there. What are the complexities of township businesses and how they fit in with the national economy and factors such as employment creation?
Thanks. Good morning, Thulasizwe. So I think this report really highlights that, the township informal economy is a dynamic economy which has a whole range of SMEs that span across multiple sectors and that also contribute to job creation. It does highlight as well that many of these SMEs do face, certain challenges. They face challenges in terms of accessing funding. They face challenges in that they operate in saturated markets. It also highlights that women-owned enterprises in this environment are also typically necessity-based SMEs, so are therefore really only starting their businesses because they don't have any other source of income, and therefore there's a huge challenge in terms of skills gaps, business development gaps, financial management gaps. What we do find as well is the businesses that manage to get it right in terms of having a good customer value proposition, understanding who their market segment is, do thrive and actually run successful businesses within this environment.
So you did the study in multiple provinces, Gauteng, KZN, Western Cape, Limpopo, and the Northwest. The highlight that I picked up in the introduction has to do with the levels of non-registration. Almost 80% not registered. Were you able to pick up what the trends are and what the reasoning is behind not registering? And I assume that by registering, we are talking CIPC registering, right?
So by registering, we're talking about tax registering. So 80% of these businesses were informal in that they were not registered for tax purposes. And the main reason of them not wanting to register their businesses, they found the process complex, they found it administratively burdensome, and they couldn't understand what benefits it has for their business. Funny enough, given the fact that so many of them are unregistered, they also actually create jobs. Of the 250 businesses that we actually spoke to in the survey, they created 7,500 jobs, which really showcases that there is an economy that is somewhat unseen, that is contributing to economic development.
And in terms of the numbers, total employment creation and the size and contribution, you're saying that it's nearly 1 trillion rand in terms of the value of the township economy?
Yes, we took that number from a study done by Trade Intelligence, which does estimate that the value is at over almost 900 billion rand annually, and that really just highlights the impact and the size of the economy, and it also shows that there's multiple businesses that are operating within this economy. In our report, we showcase that we've got businesses in retail, in transport and logistics, tourism, construction, manufacturing. So it's a diverse economy with different types of SMEs.
So lastly then, Nalezani, someone listening to this conversation, various players within the township economy sector, owners of businesses and the likes, what's the big takeout? What do you want people to take from this conversation as well as the report in terms of how they further sharpen their businesses and enhance their participation in the economy?
I think for me the big takeout is this report really showcases that there is an active township economy that is really unseen. We said that 80% of them are unregistered, right? And given the role that they play in creating jobs, which is also highlighted in the number of jobs that the businesses that we spoke to created, it really shows that we really do need to work together to actually create, funding mechanisms for these SMEs, business development support structures for these SMEs, adequate infrastructure so that these SMEs can operate in environments which are conducive for them to run their businesses as optimally as possible. There is an economy that is bustling. These SMEs face numerous challenges. One of the things that came out was mental health. They face mental health challenges in that they feel as if people don't understand what they're trying to do. So partnerships are crucial. Working together with private sector, working together with DFIs, and working together with policymakers is critical, to really build support mechanisms and tools to enable this township informal economy to thrive.
All right, I've got to thank you for that. That is Naletsani Musumane, who is head of enterprise and supplier development for business and commercial banking at Standard Bank.
Call Thulasizwe now, 086 000 2032.
Yeah, so lots of ground covered this morning. Let me just read one or two messages. One of them, of course, the issues that came up was about the president and Hangwani Maumela. And the controversy that has arisen from there. Different takes on it that we've heard throughout the morning. Someone says there are numerous problems in our country. Let's focus on resolving our serious problems, not stating facts that are not known. Emphasis there on not, all caps written there by that person. Did the president know if the ex-wife's family was busy stealing money? How can some people be so sure that the president was aware of the theft is the question that has come through from that person. Let me take one from Mpo from Chakuma, who says, it's true the president has no relation with Maumela. I fully agree when he says he might have seen him while he was still a boy. I know the history of President and Maumela because I'm staying next door to Maumela's father, who passed away last month and buried here in Chakuma. And even Maumela was here with small Lamborghini, says this person, says Mpo, in Chakuma, a Lamborghini that was seized. According to Mpo. So that's that then. One of the themes, one of the conversations. But I do want to end it on a really good note. I mean, we've been, guys, we take a lot on this show, right? And it always feels like we are angry, we are pulling at each other, tearing each other apart, healthy friction sometimes. But when we get a moment, we should always take it.
Good morning, Thulas. I'd really like to congratulate Bafana, but mostly the coach, the GOAT, Hugo Bruce. Ever since he took charge of the team, there's been change, positive change, gradually. I'm really giving comment to him. The guy has really done an outstanding job. Thanks, Hugo Bruce.
Yes, Kumbuzo. I want to quickly add in there. I was a Hugo Bruce skeptic. I must state it up front. I'm not ashamed to say it. When he was appointed, I was a skeptic. But he has shown us. Zelma, wait. Your rush. Let me take this one before we get there.
Good morning, Thulasizwe. I think you are old enough. But the song is not Palafala for TKZ.
It does have Palafala in it. It says Hula Palafala. TKZ and Pini Shibobo. I'm out of here. Thank you so much for listening. I'm Thulasizwe Simelane. You've been briefed. Thank you, Bafana.
In our top stories, DA calls for immediate dismissal of head of Gauteng Health and University of the Free State students vacate campus. Good morning. We start with news just in. Kenya's former Prime Minister Raila Odinga has died at the age of 80. His office has confirmed his death. Reports say Odinga suffered a cardiac arrest and was rushed to hospital where he died. We'll have details in our next bulletin. The DA in Gauteng is calling for the immediate dismissal of the head of Gauteng Health and Wellness Department, Lisiba Malotana. The party has rejected his suspension with full pay, saying it's not good enough. The DA has accused Malotana of long-standing underperformance and being linked to multiple scandals, including corruption at the Tembisa Hospital, which the Special Investigating Unit was probing. DA spokesperson for Health in Gauteng is Madeleine Hickling.
You're looking at a department that underspent money meant for healthcare services to the tune of 725 million rand in the last year alone. And let's not forget the most heinous of all crimes, the assassination of Babita Deokaran, who uncovered the 2 billion rand scandal that crippled Tembisa Hospital. All of this took place under the watchful eye, in inverted commas, of Lisiba Malotana. How can one allow a man to be sitting at home on his couch with full pay when he was supposed to be overseeing a department that had these scandals?
African jurists are demanding the urgent adoption of artificial intelligence to protect whistleblowers. They've argued that algorithms can create secure, anonymous reporting channels to prevent incidents, such as the killing of Gauteng Health Department official Babita Deokaran in August 2021. Higher Education Media's Edwin Naidu.
So last month at the biennial International Bar Association African Regional Forum Conference in Joburg, jurists and legal experts, they talked about AI and what it could be doing to help, in the fight against crime, particularly being used as an aid for whistleblowing. They argued that, Africa is home to like 70% of global mobile money transactions, which makes it very uniquely positioned to harness the power of AI.
The last group of students from the University of the Free State's Qwaqwa campus are leaving this morning to meet the university's deadline for them to vacate the campus. It follows protests that broke out on Monday night against the university's decision to end provisional registration from next year. Some students were injured and one was admitted to hospital following a standoff for the university's security on Monday. Some university properties were also vandalized. Lihlohonolo is one of the students from the campus.
It's quite a sad matter that the institution is going to hire people from private companies to come and actually protect the buildings of the institution. But those people are not protecting the buildings of the institution, but are harming students.
Music executive Mhlamulo Notabaloy says if he fails in his reapplication for a new US visa, he'll wait for a new administration in Washington to try again. The State Department has revoked his current visitor's visa after comments about Charlie Kirk. In a separate matter, Baloy issued an unconditional apology through the South African Human Rights Commission earlier this year. This after making offensive remarks against white people in 2 podcasts. Baloy says another US administration is likely to treat him differently.
I know that this action is an action that is specific to the current administration, which will be out of office on the 20th of January, 2029, I think. So if I am denied a visa upon reapplication, I do know that a different administration will have different feelings about this whole entire incident.
And finally, the United States has seized more than $15 billion worth, or nearly 260 billion rand worth of cryptocurrency. It's part of measures that Washington and London have taken against a Cambodia-based network of scam centres. The BBC's Caroline Howley has the details.
The UK government says the scam centres operate in Cambodia, Myanmar and across Southeast Asia. It says the centres in disused casinos or purpose-built compounds use fake job adverts to attract workers who are then forced to carry